You're live, now you're. All set?
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna open the Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, April 26th at 5:43. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so before we get to Jason's favorite time of approving the warrants, I wanted to make a couple of quick announcements. So I think in the last couple of months, with all the frenzy that's been going on with the budget and with the warrants, we have not recognized Lynn Stanton's retirement from the Council on Aging. So she's been part of Groveland Town Hall for many, many years, and she's done an outstanding job on the Council of Aging, always advocating for the seniors in town, always pleasant to talk to, feisty when she wants to get something done or request different assets or resources for the seniors. Definitely an advocate for the seniors, but wanted to acknowledge her work in Town Hall and her retirement that's pending later this week. So thank you, Lynn, for all of your hard work. Sorry again that it was, I guess, overlooked the last couple of months. We had quite a few things coming on, but that's not a good enough excuse. But just wanted to say thank you for all your hard work and good luck in retirement. And I hope you get to travel whenever we get to travel again. Anybody else have any comments on? Yep, go ahead.
Yep. I've known Lynn, I think, probably for she's been here 20 plus years, and she's always been a really bright light in our town hall. And I think especially during this pandemic, she was a very bright light for the seniors of our town. She never stopped working for them, whether it was just getting them advice or later on getting them scheduled for vaccines. And I never heard Lynn ever say that she didn't have the time to do something. She just always got it done, and we're going to miss her so much. And I wish her well in her retirement. And maybe 5 years from now, I'll be joining you. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Lynn did a great job, and I knew Lynn before I got elected to the board. I know she's very, very passionate with the senior citizens, and she was able to answer a lot of questions. She was pretty knowledgeable in what she did, and she really put her whole heart into the job, and she was great with the senior citizens. And good luck in the retirement. And from one that knows, it's not as easy as you think, but good luck with it. Thank you.
Bill?
Just want to reiterate everyone else's comments. I think Ms. Stanton has been an absolute treasure to this town. It's gonna be huge shoes to fill, and I don't think we can ever thank her enough for the work she's done over the last 25 years for this community and for the citizens of it. Wish her the best, and wish she didn't have to leave. I wish she had another 25 years she could spend with us. That's why I love her so much.
Good deal. Also, on the heels of retirement is Officer Dwight McDonald, who has worked in town for 32 years, if you can believe it. Another person that is awesome to engage with, awesome to work with, always showed up every day, which even last year was just a real struggle for a lot of people. But I wanted to congratulate Dwight McDonald on retirement. Hopefully he's moving somewhere a lot warmer in the winter than we currently are. But I wanted to thank him for his 32 years of service and everything he's done for the town of Groveland, both as an officer and as a resident. Anybody else want to add anything?
I have to.
Go
I
ahead.
mean, my children all went through the Bagnell School. I think Dwight was the DARE officer. He made an incredibly great connection with the young people in our town. I think they looked up to him for advice about things, and he definitely made a lasting impact on all of them. And again, I don't know how we'll ever fill those shoes, because he was just more than a member of our police department. He was a mentor for our children and a caring community member too. Can't get better than that.
Anybody else?
No, just thanks to Dwight. He did a good job. I think he came here from Boxford, and he did a fantastic job. Good personality, a good person to deal with, and good luck, Dwight, in your retirement. I know you'll be leaving Groveland, but hopefully you'll think about us. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, Officer, Lieutenant, he's been a fixture in this town for so long that it's gonna be hard to picture Groveland without him. And I gotta tell you, you may leave Groveland, but Groveland will never leave you. And you'll always be in our hearts. Hopefully, we'll always be in your hearts.
I keep texting him.
God bless, and hopefully it's a long, long and joyful retirement, and we're gonna miss you.
Agreed. Thanks again, Officer McDonald. The last point I want to make sure that gets out is there is a vaccination clinic in Amesbury that has openings for signing up for COVID vaccine shots. So what we'll do, Catherine, is we'll add this to our website and to the message board out front. I have some information for you. But I want to make sure that everyone in town who does watch this meeting, that there are vaccinations available in Amesbury, at Amesbury High School. So please do go on to the appropriate sites and sign up. That information will be on our website shortly. Now we can go on to approving the warrants. So, Jason, for the last time, will you approve the warrants for me? Or read the warrants for me?
I make a motion to approve payroll warrant 2143 in the amount of $178,185.30.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to approve bill warrant 2143 in the amount of $513,123.38, which breaks down to the town $76,553.98, water and sewer $3,181.76, payroll withholding $7,159.22, light bills $362,255.26, and grants for $63,973.16.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next up, we have approved the minutes. We have approval of Board of Selectmen minutes from March 29th, 2021. Anybody get a chance to review those? I took a quick glance at them. They look to be in order to
I
me.
have not had time to review those.
I looked at all three and they all seem good,
Were they good?
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Jason. They all look to be in order.
Can we get a
Move
motion
for
to approve all
passage.
three of them then?
Yeah, I agree with all three.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen meetings for March 29th, April 5th, and April 15th.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yep.
Right. Next up, we have appointment of Heather Carp of West Newbury to the position of library assistant for $18.50 an hour, 18 and a half hours a week, sorry, at $14.75 per hour. I did read through her information that she submitted and her resume, and I think that she's a viable candidate for that position, and actually has been doing that similar type of job for a number of years now. Anybody else have any comments on that?
I read through her resume as well,
Is she on right now?
and I think she'd be a great fit,
Hey, Heather.
especially here in Groveland. So I'm in complete agreement with you, Mike.
Heather, do you want to say anything to the board, or are you just looking for any information? Happy to talk to you. She on there? No?
Where is she?
I don't know. Is she on the phone?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, hi. No, I just wanted to say hello.
Hello.
And thanks for, thanks for appointing me, if you appoint me.
No, I just, your resume had a lot of information on it. Obviously, you're qualified for the job. Darcy had recommended you, so that goes a long way too. But I think, I don't know if anybody has any questions for her. Anybody? No?
I don't have any.
All right, Jason, did you make a motion?
I did.
No. Did you?
Yes, I did.
You said you agreed with me, but did you make a motion?
Agreed, I made a motion. as
You
well.
did. So Jason made a motion for passage. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Thank you, Heather.
All right, thanks. Have a good meeting.
All right. All right. Next up. Let's see, we have trash pickup at Atwood Estates and Billis Way subdivisions. I believe we have the contractor here.
The contractor's here. I'm a friend of his. My name is Bill Faraci. I'm an attorney, retired sort of. And I had my practice in Bradford near the Common for 37 some odd years. And for 32 of those years, I was an assistant city solicitor for the city of Haverhill, dealing primarily in planning and development issues, representing the planning board, the Board of Appeals, and the planning department. I love the fact that your town seal says part of Bradford till 1850. I grew up in
Yep.
Bradford. Every time I put it on my letterhead, Sacred Heart School, Bradford, 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 I'll say, you know, my grandmother was born in the town of Bradford in 1896, so I'm entitled. So I am glad to see it recognized here. I've been in communication back and forth with Rebecca Oldham. I think that she took my last communication by phone. She replied that she wasn't going to talk to me anymore because I said I wanted to be confrontational. I would never have said that. Either she misunderstood or I misspoke or whatever, but it was never an intention to be confrontational. We're looking for information. It's very simple. These folks bought houses. They spent $650,000 to $750,000 for the houses. They received occupancy permits from the town of Groveland. The town of Groveland supplies water, electricity, police, fire, but not trash. It makes no sense. Now, the position of Ms. Oldham is that the town cannot service a road that has not been accepted. And I think that I have asked her specifically 4 times to cite me the statute that says that the town is not able to pick up trash. I have yet to receive a reply to that. Now, I think she's referring to part of the general laws, which talks about repair, plowing, rebuilding, things of that nature. And I agree. Till the road is accepted, you don't do those things. But trash collection?
May I just interrupt for a point of, I don't know if it's order or information, but I thought that we were hearing from the developer, and are you representing him as his attorney here tonight? Am I understanding that correctly?
I
Because-
guess you could say that.
Okay,
Yeah, but
so-
more the, you know.
So
more-
what I'm wondering is if it's probably not appropriate to discuss what people said or didn't say who aren't currently in this
Oh, no,
room.
no, I just, in case
No,
you-
I know you're trying to set the stage and all,
Unless
but,
she, I don't know if she relayed that to you or not. I just wanted to put to rest anything that I was trying to create controversy,
I
because
get it.
I'm not.
okay.
The thing is that the collection of trash is not the kind of service that I think that statute is talking about. I think it's talking about sidewalks, utilities, roadways, et cetera. Because the town does supply services. Like I said, they supply water, they supply electricity, police, fire. I told him, pizza delivery, you know, all the important things. The US Mail delivers mail there. Federal Express goes up there, UPS goes up there. There's the idea that picking up of trash is forbidden by law is something that's very foreign to me. I mean, all the years that I did planning and development, I never ran across that one. And that's why I asked for her some specific information as to what she's relying on, and that's what I'm looking for. I mean, my goodness, if she's right, if she's got a statute or an ordinance, then she's right. If she's interpreting the statute that I'm talking about, then I disagree with her. But I want to know, I simply want to know why this has become an issue. One of the subdivisions was it Atwood you said? Has had their trash collected for 9 months. And when the second thing came up here, about a week ago, they stopped the collection of trash at that subdivision. That, again, makes no sense. The the town of Groveland is insured through the waste treatment people. They have insurance with the town as a name insured on it, so you're covered that way. He's still got insurance. The idea that, and it's in some of the communications we received here, the idea that this is being done to pressure the builder to put in the final plans for the roadway also doesn't make any sense. You've got bonds for that. The correct way to enforce anything on the roadway is to go after his bond. It's not to deny people who pay $6,000 a year in taxes having their trash picked up. It's that simple. I just want to know why, and I think these people want to know why as well. I know they may have talked to some of you.
Yep, so, I agreed to let you have the 5 minutes to make your point.
Okay.
The board will not vote on anything tonight, but that your point is taken. From the last 6 years that I've been on this board, the town has never done this without accepting a roadway. And until the town accepts ownership of that roadway, we have not done any plowing or trash collection that I'm aware of. So the reasoning behind that may be circumstantial, and it may be a question of a statute, or it may be a question of just policy, but that's the way it has been done. So if we need to actually get clarification on that, we can certainly research it and provide you with that information. But that has been the process for as long as I've been on this board. And we've done it with many different developments that have come to us, and when they're finally finished and when they get final seal of approval, then the town takes ownership of it, and then the town's responsible for the clearing, the trash, all the water, all the sewer, all the other utilities that are a part of that development.
What does the town do
But
if there's
But-
a water pipe?
But that is at that point and not before that point, and we're not going to be strong or bullied into something that we have not done in a long time. Now, I've seen I've seen some of the communications that you've had with Ms. Oldham, and she is very good at her job. She is one of the best hires we've ever had in this building. She's very good at it, and if I understand her position and her opinion on something, it is taken with an immense support. So if we need to have a further meeting on this, we can certainly schedule that. I'm open to that. But to say that we're going to make a decision tonight or provide you in any one way or another is not going to happen. 1 second. Anybody else have any questions on this? Rebecca's on.
I did have one thing. I guess I spoke with a member of our Board of Health who took a very harsh phone call from a resident on the road, and was very upsetting to her because the person was saying they were going to come to the town hall and dump the trash on the steps of our town hall. And this is an employee who's been working for us, 20-plus years, and one of the sweetest people I know, very dedicated, always very polite, always very civil. And I would just ask that while this is sorted out and we come to understand the where and the why of it, if you have any ability to communicate with that neighborhood, to make them understand that the people that work in our town hall are dedicated and hardworking, and if you have a civil question, that's always welcome, but call up and behave like that to someone who's just doing their job and always here working really hard. I just think it was very unfair and uncalled for, and would ask that if you have any ability to communicate with people whom you're selling homes to about this issue not being resolved yet, please do so that they don't blame someone at the end of a phone line and take it out on
We
them.
will pass that word along. I've
Thank
worked
you.
for the city long enough that I would never tolerate any kind of abuse to city officials or city employees. I understand that very well. I'm looking, and I'm not trying to downgrade Rebecca Oldham at all. I merely want to know what the basis is for her statement to the owners up there that state law prohibits the town from collecting trash. It's that simple.
Jason, anything to add?
I've got a couple questions. What bonds do you have outstanding for Atwood Estates?
Amounts?
Yeah,
How
for,
much?
yeah, just a general,
I think
general,
his mask
Atwood
is on
Estates has
crooked.
an $80,000 bond
still?
still, and Phyllis Way has a $120,000 bond.
Right. And what type of work is still going on at Atwood?
Atwood is complete, just the as-built plans, and the as-built plans have been submitted, and they're being reviewed by the TEC, the town's engineer, and we're going back and forth and making comments on them to clean those up.
And when were they submitted?
They're submitted, the as-built plan was submitted back in April, and the,
When was the work pretty much complete over there at Atwood?
in the fall, and then you can't, you have to go, after you complete all the work, you have to go back and install stone bounds, do more survey work, create the plan, so we couldn't do all that until the spring, so
Right.
this spring, we went in and we did everything we had to do and prepared the plan and got it over as soon as we could. But I have one of my last projects in another community before I did Atwood. It's almost 5 years, and there's a bond. I have a surety bond there, and I've submitted all my paperwork, and they still haven't got around to accepting the road. And they plow, pick up, they render all the services to all those homeowners. So, and while I have the microphone, Rebecca's been great to me. You're right, you're 100% right. She's a great hire. She's good at her job. We just don't understand. I can't find anything. It's not in my decision. It's not in any bylaw. It's not in any zoning. We can't find any reason why that this would happen. That you couldn't pick up trash. So we just want to know why. I've got 19 people now that have bought homes that expect to have their trash picked up, and you guys can understand that. They bought a house, they pay taxes, they're wondering why they can't get their trash picked up, and a couple of them are on the Zoom, and just the last year or so, it's just been an ongoing issue for a long time, and I'm just trying to get it resolved. I just like he said, I just want to know why. I just don't understand why.
Okay.
Especially seeing as how the town issued occupancy permits for all of these homes. So they had to find that the roadways servicing them were adequate enough to handle those residences.
Yeah, I think that's two separate issues for our town,
Like,
Yeah.
going on history, but Jason, anything else?
No, I mean, I think Atwood have been very appreciative of the fact that we issued occupancy license so that people could move in and with their purchases instead of waiting until the road was complete and submitted to the town as he planned, because that would have really tied up a lot of funds. So,
All set?
yeah.
Ed, you had a question?
Questions and statements. To the attorney, we have two other developments in town, Whitestone Village and Nichols Village, that they pick up their own trash, they pay taxes, they received occupancy permits, they receive public safety protection, they get water from the town, they get electricity, they get mail delivery, and they supply their own plowing. So two large developments, which basically, it's a private development.
Could I ask
and-
if they're condominiums?
Excuse me?
Are they condominiums?
Yeah, yeah, I think one you could say probably is condos.
Because
they're,
that would be part of any condominium.
townhouses maybe is probably the proper term. But in my opinion, as soon as the street's accepted by the town, approved by the highway superintendent and the planning director, that it meets all the requirements of a street, that the drainage is all taken care of, then I think we should do a vote. And so other developments have taxes, pay taxes, and they don't get the protection. And just your last comment here. For example, if there's a fire at these premises, or if a drunk driver was stopped in these premises, the town would not deny firefighting protection, and a defense that the drunk driving offense did not occur in a public way would not hold. True, but you didn't, comma, but at that point, it would become a way in which the public has a right of access, arrestable.
Well, that's basically what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, but you left that out.
Well, it's, okay.
You left that out. So,
I do
but
disagree.
the way you have this written is that you couldn't arrest a drunk driver. I'd say you're incorrect, because
No, what that says is the drunk driver could never say, you can't arrest me because the way is open to the public.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it becomes a way in which the public has a right of access,
Yeah.
and you know that.
Well, that's what I was trying to
Yeah.
say.
But you left that part out conveniently. So I'll go along with it. As soon as we get a letter from the highway superintendent that the road and drainage is correct, and the planning director. And I gave you examples of 2 developments in Groveland which we do not pick up trash. They have their own, and it met all those things that you listed, occupancy permit, et cetera.
Well, but the point was that they said that until the town accepted, which is only, once a year at the town meeting?
No, we vote to accept it.
We vote to accept all year long.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
I think that it,
Is it ratified at the
I
town meeting?
believe it goes to the town meeting.
I think it's annual town meeting.
But I know that we voted at times to accept roadways here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
So it might be a two-part.
We'd have to look back on that.
Can I just
remember
follow
coming
up on
at
this
town
comment?
meeting.
Wait a second. But I think there's a two-part. I know we voted here to accept roadways, but I think that also goes into the warrant article for annual town meeting. So it's like one of those things where the Board of Selectmen can approve to accept it, but the town also has to accept it.
Well, we have to accept it to go on the town,
Right.
the
warrant.
town
Right.
warrant, unless it's a citizen's petition, which you can't throw off. But, yeah, I remember voting out at a town meeting, but anyway.
Can I just make one point?
Hold on one second. Bill, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, I read through this really quickly, and it seems like Rebecca's spelled this out, I mean, in really good English. She has yet to file and as-built for review to submit the drafted deed, easements, and operations and maintenance information concerning stormwater infrastructure, and we cannot provide services until the developer petitions the town for roadway acceptance. If we provide services, there is absolutely no incentive for the developer to finish the development and seek town approval. And I think therein lies, to me, that's the key sentence. We remove all incentive to finish anything that's undone if we go ahead.
Wait
So
a second.
it sounds kinda, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it looks pretty straightforward. You do what you need to do, we do what we need to do, everybody's happy at the end of the day, just make it
Except the
happen.
residents, except the people who own the houses.
Well, the residents aren't happy because the builder hasn't finished 2 sentences. It's 2 sentences, that's all it is. I don't get it.
Let's just say, I was trying to separate the residents from the builder. You have bonds to ensure that the builder will do what he's supposed to do, but the residents have no way of either pressuring him or the town. So the bottom line is, I just want to know what the basis for that decision is. And if the board thinks that it can accept the roadway without going to town meeting, or at least accept it to the point where trash can be collected, we know where to go. That's that simple.
Do you have anything else to add, Kathy? I went around the room, I don't know if you have anything else.
No, I think at this point, we need to do some research and ask our planning board and our town planner to give us some information. I mean, obviously, in the interim, I would suggest maybe make some temporary arrangement to pay for trash to be picked up by the residents, because they have homes, and the developer should take on that responsibility until it can be settled, I believe. I think that would be the best thing to do.
It's not about that. The trash on Atwood, the residents are bringing it to the end of the street, and the town of Groveland's picking up the trash. And the same thing on Billis, if this continues, the strategy of not picking up trash, but the town continues, they'll lock their trash down, and they'll put it in a big pile on Main Street, and then the town will pick it up.
Okay, so
It's
wait,
not a financial burden on me, it's just 19 people should be getting trash services and they're not, and I just don't
Well, the
understand
trash is
why.
being
They're
picked
all
up,
mad at me,
right?
And I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do.
Well, it's being
Misleading.
picked up, but they have to move it to,
Right, right, well, yeah, I mean, people with long driveways move it 500 feet
yeah.
up to
I mean, it's
the,
only-
I mean, I think that.
That just
could
brings
I-
up a further
Could I
question
just
of-
say one thought, just to say that I'm assuming that when the people bought their homes, they were told that this is what they were gonna have to do, otherwise how'd they figure it out?
No.
how did they figure this out?
That's one of the things that the town needs to do.
Well,
i-
we
is
don't
either
know when
put
they,
in- Either put in his order of conditions.
okay,
Or on the occupancy permit to clearly let these people know.
well, how did they find out then? What to do?
Put the trash out, it wasn't picked up.
No, but how'd they know to put it at the end of the road?
Oh, they were told by Rebecca.
After the trash, after we realized the trash wasn't gonna be picked up, we talked to Rebecca and we talked to the Board of Health, and they kindly obliged us to have them pick up their trash on Center Street. And at the time, I didn't understand it, it wasn't right. Some of the residents, you had a mean phone call, and I apologize for that. I don't know who that was, and of course, we don't support that in any way. But, you know, they're upset about it. So now it's going on with culvert and everything in the town meetings, and with the late fall, I wasn't able to get on the agenda to have the road accepted at the next town meeting. So this could go on for another year. This could be, you know, almost 2.5 years. These people are living there and not having their trash picked up. So, and then on
Well, they're not
Billis.
having it picked up at their home, but it is being picked up, okay, so we
That's
are
right.
taking the
And I
responsibility.
did
for
want to
that.
make one point to his comment, that the two projects he's talking about, those projects were approved knowing that they're not going to get trash and plowing services. They're condo projects. They applied to the planning board, and they consent to not having these services from the beginning. It's written in their contracts, it's in the whole situation. So those are a little different issue. And one more point for the 6 years you've been here. When Bob was here for 30 years, and I've built a number of projects in the town, he plowed and trash got picked up in every subdivision the whole time. As far as I know, this started on Greenie Way about 2 years ago, after Bob O'Kalian retired. So when I've done this in the past, I got services on a road that was under construction for both plowing and trash pickup. On Atwood, I plowed it all last year. If I have to plow it next year, I'll plow it next year. That's not the point. This doesn't cost me any money. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do to try and get the road accepted. It's not about money for me. It's not about work. I'm doing all the work. I've just got a lot of people that I think deserve to have their trash picked up. So that's why we
This-
came. We don't want to argue with anybody.
Right, no, this sounds like a classic miscommunication on several different levels, which happens, and everybody goes through it on one form or another, either in local government, state government, or even at your own full-time job. So it sounds like we just need to have an open conversation between you, what the expectations are with your clients who bought your house, what the expectations are, what we can do, what we can't do. But that, I mean, a lot of this falls back to the Board of Health and to the Planning Department, because they're the lead on this stuff. We're just opening the forum so you guys can start the communication process, which probably hasn't been the most expedient up to this date. I'm not blaming anybody for that, but it sounds like could be better communication between all the parties involved, so.
Well, part of why we're here was hoping that you would tell these folks that we should be communicating. You know, the last note I got from Rebecca Oldham was that she would no longer communicate with me because I had said that I was going to be confrontational.
But she had given you all of the documentation and any website
you-
or forums or,
you're-
hold on, or instructions on what you need to do in order to get this accepted, so we could then move forward with our process, which sounds like we have to approve the layout of the way, and the town meeting accepts the vote to accepting ownership of that
Ownership,
road.
right.
So it's, hold on, it's a two-part process on the town government side, right? But there's also responsibility on your side to do what the town planner is directing you towards, to make sure that you're in compliance with everything that needs to get done. Whether it hadn't been done 6 to 10 years ago, and you were doing things maybe not exactly kosher with town government, that's beside the point, right? Right now, we're talking about a process that's in place, that's been in place for several years, and I think most of the board is in agreement that we've never really taken ownership of a road just on a whim. We wait a second until we are done with everything that the project has to be completed.
The only point was to find out if she had a statutory basis for making
I got
the
that,
claim that she got,
yep.
and having some way whereby either developers or developers and owners can know in advance that this is going to be the policy. As it is now, I mean, these people, there's nothing on record at the Registry of Deeds, or in the decision, or in the town ordinances, or in the state statutes that I can find, which warns them that their trash is not gonna be picked up at their house. So, I mean, that creates a problem in and of itself with people who are moving into your town.
I get it. I understand, and again, it goes back to maybe that communication problem, or maybe that issue of what's on that permit of residency
Right.
or occupancy, right?
Right.
So maybe that part needs to be changed, and I think that this does warrant another meeting to actually have a vote on what the town can do and can't do with all parties involved. But again, this isn't the forum that we've set up.
Oh,
for that.
I know.
But I understand what your point is to bring in light. I understand the residents that are on the call and their frustration, but this isn't the agenda item that we set up other than to have a discussion and to bring it forward. So I will connect with Rebecca probably later this week, see what that communication process looks like, see what we can do going forward. But it's gonna be up to the board to schedule that next meeting, which won't be till the 10th, May 10th, I think? Is that the 10th? Ed, one final comment?
One final comment. If anybody is upset about this, it should be the people who live on the street.
Yes.
And they should be upset with the developer. Maybe you could instruct your client to finish the project so that it can be accepted by highway and planning, and then the town could bring it to a vote. And the person that is holding it up is the developer. Finish the project. What's the holdup on Atwood Estates that you haven't finished yet?
It's finished. It's doing physically, it's finished. It's doing the work to get the plans ready, to get them submitted, to get them approved by the board.
Okay.
It's
then
a lengthy
then do that
process.
work and get them submitted.
It's a lengthy process in any community, not just Groveland, all communities. Some communities don't accept the roads for decades. It's not,
Well, we've never done that.
No.
no, I'm not saying you did.
No, I know some
I'm
do
saying
that, but
other
we don't do
communities
that.
did,
As
but
soon as the road is done, the project is done, we
When
come
the-
in here, we vote on accepting it, or
In
the-
most-
the way, the outway, and then the town at the next meeting accepts ownership of it.
in 35 years, every time that I've developed a project, the community, the town, issues the services when there's somebody occupying in the project. Once somebody's moved in, then services engage. That's generally how it goes, despite this. And the answer is to make me, or any developer, to finish the project. All this paperwork that's terrible at the end, guys usually aren't motivated to do it. That's the whole surety and bond process. There's $80,000 that tells me I'm gonna finish this project, sitting in a bond. That's stronger than not picking up trash or not doing anything else. That's the guarantee to the town of Groveland that the road's gonna get finished properly. And if it doesn't, more than enough funds are there for the town of Groveland to do it themselves. So it's impossible to get hurt.
I got you. Okay, so we're going to move on in our agenda, but Catherine, if you could, for the next meeting, depending on what the board makes up and who's here, I would suggest having an agenda item to have a further discussion and possible vote on what can and can't be done regarding those two developments. All right?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Good night.
All right, let's jump around a little bit, because I think we have one person from.
Thank you.
Phone Systems, is that? IT, is that? You, come on down.
Oh, IT.
This is a system decommissions transferred to voice over IP, right?
No, sir.
What are we doing?
Recabling?
Shifting equipment, going to Office 365 in the cloud for email versus a premise Exchange server.
No, that sounds more interesting than this other one, so let's have that discussion.
It's related, they're the phone
I got what it
cabling.
is, I know what it is, but,
Okay.
okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So, this is recabling a system server, that part.
To move it from the current administrative office to a hallway closet that's more than adequate to
Okay.
handle that service. You're gonna gain a good amount of office space back.
Yeah, so currently it's sitting in that back room, which doubles as an office and an IT server room, which
Correct.
isn't ideal,
Correct.
given that there's access there.
There's a window that's trapped access, you've given up a lot of,
Real estate.
expensive real estate for people more important than your equipment that I take care of,
Right.
so.
So the idea is to, and I know that this has been at least talked about for several years, is to
Yes,
move
sir.
that to a different location,
Yes,
to a more secure location with limited access.
yes, sir.
And then actually use that space for office, which is, and storage, which is actually needed. But what does that system kind of cost? I know that you also wanted to talk about Office 360.
Yes, sir.
Did you say private cloud, private cloud? Public
Government
cloud?
One, GCC One, the government cloud from Microsoft for email and email retention for
Yep.
e-discovery. That was
Okay.
the other thing, sir.
Yeah, so do we have an idea of what you think moving that server?
I have preliminary quotes on it in the sense of, if currently you have your phone equipment, your networking equipment, your security equipment, your cabling cask, all go onto the D-Mark. There's a piece of wood on the wall.
Yep.
And then there's a rack server in there. To leave a lot of the switch gear there, basically use up wall space, leave the switching there and a part of the phone system. It's about $7,500 to move it on non-weekend or off-hours work. So if you said, hey, great, you want can't be done during the day, there's an additional $3,000 to do it off hours or weekends.
Okay.
But you guys have a closing on a Friday. Usually your office is closed on a Friday. The vendor believes that if you can call that an off hour, it's not off hours for them or us, but there's not as many people in the town hall. The off hours could move down to between 12 and 1,500 just to finish up on Saturday. But if you don't have to do it during, 5 PM to 6 AM or weekends and night, you can save the cost on that part. But that is still leaving equipment in the space. So you would have switchgear, you would have that equipment
On the wall.
on the wall.
Okay.
Currently, there are 96 different networking locations in the building.
Yep.
Instead of paying the price to do an audit, we budgeted the design to rewire everything back into the closet. So basically, there's nothing left in that space except one electrical jack, or a crossover box, but that would be hidden, and everything to move in the closet. That cost is dramatically more expensive because we budgeted, you have the cable coming across, comes down the space. If a cable's far away and you pull it back, it's gonna fit right into the new closet space.
Right.
But the cable starts there and ends in a close-by office, you're gonna have to re-cable offices to get it to the location. Until
Got
we
it.
get into the ceiling, well, the vendor gets into the ceiling, we
You're
don't
not gonna know
know.
what's gonna be short and what's gonna be long.
So we budgeted half.
Yeah.
Just as a good faith, split the building. We know the people down this end are absolutely gonna be able to get in the closet. But people at this end may have to be extended or recabled because you don't crimp in new wire, becomes an antenna.
Yep.
So we budgeted 48 locations. That budget, based on a 48 additional rewiring, is $19,700. We don't believe and the 48 is a secondary line item because if it's 26, it's going to, it's 24, it's gonna be half the price of the $12,000 to recable those 48 locations. But we wanted to give you an honest cost that if you had to end up recabling all 48, this would be your realized cost.
So, are you looking at a total project of $20,000-ish?
If you leave the stuff in the closet, in the office, you're looking at a budget of $9,000.
Okay.
If you move it outside the closet and move everything out of that room and recable those potential 48 spots, you're looking at a 21,005 project if you have to do it after hours.
Right. And just out of curiosity,
Yes, sir.
what is the projected downtime to the network for doing this?
If you let us go on a Friday, about 8.5 hours.
So essentially, the network in town hall will be down, or will the servers be down? Well, servers will probably be down
The
as well.
servers are the network in town hall, sir.
So there'll be
Yes,
no email or communication that way.
correct, sir.
And just out of curiosity, and I don't mean to be flip at all.
No, absolutely,
It's
I-
gonna sound flip, but I don't mean
I
to be
don't-
flip. What is the cost to replacing that window with shatter-resistant glass?
I would probably guess around $3,500 to $4,000.
Okay. Only because, you know, if we decide to look at why we might want to move this and what the risk is for accessibility, not just through the door, obviously, but through the glass window, you know, $21,000 versus 3,500, you know, that's,
We're gonna go just the $9,000 versus $4,000.
okay,
Because your point is, just say you don't replace the glass and you just leave gear on the wall, switch gear on the wall. Switch gear goes on the wall, someone breaks in, yes, they could tear the switch gear off and you'd have a downtime because the switch gear, they could plug into the network and try to break in, doing a physical connection into the server. Less likely, especially with the public safety and the quality of public safety across the street. I think it's a very low likelihood. So that's where your savings, but if you wanted to gain that square footage back from a noise and a person,
I get it,
we get the both questions, well, why'd you leave it on the wall?
yeah.
Well, because it saved you a whole bunch of money. Well, what it would have cost to do that, so we just wanted to
I get
give
it.
you both sides. It wasn't flippant, it's a great question, because you're absolutely right. So, but
Just
it's-
depends on what we're taking on.
which is more important, people or equipment?
Right,
Office space, if you have to remodel a different office space, or as you hire people, as the town reshuffles
Yeah.
in this world, someone with a window versus a server with a window, I always get the comment of, why does the IT guy have a window?
right, yeah, I get it.
So-
Anybody have any questions? Jason's an IT guy. No questions, Jason? You're an IT guy. Kathy?
Since I'm not IT, I do, are we talking about moving the equipment that's in the
Yes.
finance director
Yeah.
office? We're talking just moving it or improving it?
Just moving the
Moving it from-
existing hardware
Yeah?
to a office that does not have a window, basically,
It's actually there's a utility closet, you have storage.
between the
along with
bathrooms.
The utility closet.
Oh, okay, I get it. I was just saying, all the offices have windows. I don't know what you're
Yeah.
talking
No,
about.
it'd be an inner
Utility
utility
closet.
room.
Oh, okay, so you want to move it into the utility room, so,
Because
yeah, yeah.
one of the conversation is with the staffing and requirements here, you were planning on relaying out some office space, and
Right.
I'm like, you can just move this. You know, people think you can't move it, it's
movable.
networking gear.
Is there an improvement of service or anything by moving it, or
No,
not?
ma'am, there's no new servers, no new firewalls, no, it's basically,
Just moving it and making the office
So you
space
gotta
back to office space,
Exactly.
yes, ma'am.
yeah. I mean, I think that's a good idea. Are we gonna use like cable money to do it?
Well, we would have to, hold on one
Yeah.
second, we would have to.
Okay, yeah, okay. No, I've said, I don't think anybody should be working in that office with that equipment in there. I don't think it's all that healthy a work atmosphere, because of the heat that gets thrown off and the noise and, I don't know.
Catherine?
We also have to move the server coming up with the carpet replacement project, so.
Right, forgot about that.
Oh, that's a good idea too, yeah.
Yep. Jay? Jay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was scratching, I have my own say.
Oh, you don't have a question? Good fake out, though, I
Be
appreciate it.
careful.
Ed?
Just one
Yes, sir.
question. If you move it to the utility closet, does that have proper ventilation or air conditioning that they might need?
One of the specifications of moving the closet is to, and actually, thank you, the price of putting basically it's a bathroom-type fan to vent the air up.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because you have the rafters. The only thing I did not, because price is you have a solid core wooden door, these are very nice doors, is to louver them, have a carpenter or facilities
okay,
people louver them, So the cool air from the hallway would get pulled in
Oh,
and
okay.
pulled up. You don't have a dramatic, I mean, it will be warm in the closet.
Yeah.
It will not hit a disgusting over 105, 110 degree that you have to stress about equipment, accelerated equipment failure.
Yeah.
It will be warm. You open the closet, you'll be like, hey, it's 80 in here. Humidity, dust are more problems to equipment than a warm because they produce about hit. You clear 105 on a consistent basis, not good, but they are the redundant power supplies. So because of your rafter solution, the rafters will take most of the offside heat right now.
Okay, and you figured all that in the cost?
I did not do the doors, the louvers, sir. I missed that.
So the louvers would be basically a hole cut in the door with a metal louver system on.
Your type of wood, I'd go with a wooden classy kind of, I mean, you got a classy building, so.
Okay. And as far as the carpet goes, that server either has to be lifted up or shuffled around within its existing range.
We have to pay for an IT guy for the day as they replace the carpets anyways. That's gonna be a cost,
Oh, okay.
no matter what.
What does that consist of, as far as where that server sits versus getting carpet and underneath it?
The carpeting people had some very unique ideas.
Yeah.
The carpeting, I'm IT.
Yeah.
Catherine explained, the carpenter said, oh, they might use a forklift, they might use rafter pulleys. There's,
We had a good idea.
I mean,
Well, there's no rafters in there, so there's no rafter pulleys.
Jason.
so you have an incremental cost that you may, as you plan on this budgetary thing, is ask the carpet people, hey, if it's just not there,
Yeah.
how much are we saving? So your great question and reasonable question, it wasn't condescending, is, hey, if we do a window at $4,000, because it's brick and the cost, and it's gonna save us $1,500, okay, we're closer to the $9,000 to just move it and leave some gear. The other one, absolutely understand the cost sticker shock
Yeah.
on that one, but I wanted to give it out to you.
Well, I mean, the sticker shock is relevant because, I mean, we would have to use our cable fund for IT network stuff,
Okay.
which is available. But just because we have it doesn't mean I wanna spend it. The other thing
Good.
that I'm trying to think of is a way that without using forklifts and a pulley system isn't gonna work, is lifting that server rack up enough so they can get their carpeting and tools underneath there to do their job without putting undue stress on the system and risk on the system as it is. So, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out a way that would be able to be lifted up, but would still leave the floor exposed to do the other work, which is, I mean, outside of maybe hanging it from chains in a platform on each of those corner walls, I mean, I could be pretty creative with things, but I don't know that the town wants me building a rack system.
For IT to be there all day in case something happens.
Yeah. Billy, you have any questions?
My only question is, I guess a while ago, I wanted to take all the servers and not only move them, to get rid of them and go to the cloud. Well, we don't have any of these expenses anymore. We don't have any space issues anymore because all our information, all our data resides in the cloud. So I'm not sure what that would cost compared to the 19,000 to move the entire unit to a more appropriate location in the building. But I gotta think we're getting close at this point.
Well, I think we replaced those servers 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Damn, I'm old. With new systems because of some malware that went through the older systems. So those servers are only 5 years old, but what's the average lifespan of a, don't tell me 5 years.
You're getting there.
Getting it.
You're getting close.
But the
All
thing is, one of the things, just to be, and one of the next conversation is moving to your direction of going to a cloud base and moving. You have a virtualized server, so it's a piece of metal that runs multiple servers on it. So you have your file server, your domain controller, and your Exchange server. You also have your SQL server, your Patriot server. You have multiple sets of server. One of them is your Exchange server. So we're moving or recommending as you move to the cloud, but there's certain things that are never going to leave your building, sir. Is currently you have a phone switch, a IP-based telephony phone switch, a premise-based switch that allows you both to have IP phones and have redundant copper, so if the internet's down, someone can still pick up the phone and call 911.
Right.
So whoever designed it did a nice job. I wasn't part of your support team then. But you're gonna need to keep that. You're gonna need to keep the switch, because the switch is what allows you to talk to the internet. I will strongly recommend, and be a hard advocate, that you are always gonna have some type of storage here, because the town, or any business, should have a copy of their intellectual property premise base. So if we're gonna use an example, and your plan is good, we'll just say your Word and Excel move to the cloud. And I'm just gonna use Microsoft Azure as an example.
Yep.
You move to Azure, you have your Word, your Excel, everybody's happy, it works great. Well, you should keep a copy here, because Azure has been off 3 times in 2020, already 1 time in 2021, for a very short amount of time, but it might be the time that you guys are planning for this meeting. People go out of business. You might pick another vendor. People say, oh, people that size don't go out of business. I've been doing this a long time. I say, the Lehman Brothers closed their doors at 5:30 thinking they're open up on Monday. They never opened up on Monday again.
Right.
So I always recommend you keep a copy of your intellectual property, so your amount of gear over the years has dwindled. Your switches are always going to stay. You're going to have some type of network-attached storage there, which you have a small one right now. So I can picture your server going away, but I just want to make sure you always look at the fact of what is the cost of the cloud? And you always should go out 2.5 years, because the ROI is, if you run something for over 2.5 years, like your servers, after you clear 2.5 years, you're saving money.
Right.
If you replace them every 2.5 years, it's not cost effective, because paying the annuity model works for you. It is just, that change absolutely is going to happen sometime in the future, but you have a lot of premise-based solutions that you need to keep for the next few years, but plan moving. And that was the conversation of taking, hey, one of your servers out of the virtual world and say, hey, and it's a single point of failure for you, is if the internet to this building is down, the police department do not get email. You guys don't get email. Catherine, working at her desk, could just flip her phone and get her email if it was not in the building. Just say there was a power outage or something like that. So that's one of the things, to move you towards the cloud on this solution, and then move you to the cloud on file shares. Because one last thing about going to the cloud, great solution. When you go to the cloud from here, you have a 75 meg circuit here. Like the internet speed, I think in this building is between 75 and 150.
Mm-hmm.
When anyone working here goes to the server, they get their data at 1,000 megabits. So they're traveling to the server and back to work on a spreadsheet at 1,000. You send it to the cloud, unless you keep copies local, it's traveling at the speed of the internet.
Right.
If you keep files local, you have to worry about federal rules of civil procedure. You have a whole bunch of other things that you have to worry about.
Storage rules, yeah.
That it's just these things you got to consider.
So in that scenario, you would also want some form of disaster recovery in case the connection went
Huge.
down, the server room went down somewhere on Azure or AWS or whatever cloud you're working on.
Or just give you, one of the things is when you go to Microsoft, you guys, some of you might use Microsoft Office email. It's a very good product. In their documentation, they recommend you have your own backup, because they don't keep a backup as long as you would like.
Right.
So that's part of
Or
how-
what might be mandated by law to keep
Right,
track of.
well, SEC, FERC, HIPAA, all those alphabet soup agencies. So that's why you always should keep a copy of the town's intellectual property local, to make sure yourself, because in today's world of crypto, they are hitting you months and months and months behind your backups, so you've got to be very careful. So that's one, and I agree with you. I would,
No, other than the Lehman Brothers comparison, they closed on Friday, they didn't open on Monday. If we close on Friday and we don't open on Monday, we got some big problems, because the town doesn't just close.
right.
Yeah.
But you have resilience that they don't, is in the sense of they had mandates, and if you close, I'm just saying, you may close on a Friday, and if you have no data, your people are still gonna do their job. If someone can't get a spreadsheet, they're still gonna do their job. The firemen are still gonna fight in the ambulance, and the senior center is gonna take care of seniors, and the highway department and the water department is still gonna do their job, but they may not be able to get to that spreadsheet for 2 or 3 days. I just wanna make sure.
So, I mean, we have some decisions to make here, at least in the near term. What type of time frame are you looking at?
I work for you.
I know,
so-
but if we said, yeah, go now, what type of turnaround are you looking at?
Go, on which one, in which.
Whatever one that we decide. I mean, it's not gonna happen tonight, but I'm just trying to get it, is it 2
I'm-
weeks, is it a week, is it a
I think
month?
it will be done in May, first week of June.
All right, so even if we said whatever tonight, you're still 3-4 weeks out before that work would get done.
Right, because there's the three Fridays.
Right. Catherine, do we know what the time frame is for carpeting?
I'm pushing for it to be done by May 31st, but they're saying with COVID, everything's being delayed and whatnot, so, sometime in the middle of May, that's what I'm really pushing for.
So, in the order of what would happen first, this IT information would have to happen first before anything would happen with the carpet.
Yeah, so it's
Now,
out of
the
order,
other,
yeah.
the other thing that I thought about, the other day when Catherine dropped this on me,
Yes, sir.
which seems to happen quite a bit lately, and someone else just reminded me of, what about leaving the system where it is and building a closet around it, to store that room in a more secure environment, to secure those servers in a more secure environment. So leaving them where they are, not worrying about getting new carpet underneath it, building a closet around it that has a locking door and some kind of metal roof or something for airflow, but doesn't allow access for it. I would assume that would be a step in the right direction, at least for short-term management.
I think your window idea would be a better solution for cost.
Yeah? Okay.
I mean, because then you both get a safe person and a safe server.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I got personal security because, hey, yes, building a box, there's a couple things. If you build a box around it, one, it's heat, it's
Yep.
related to the rafter. Anyone doing IT would have to still come into that person's office because you're not gonna cut a door
Right.
through the cinder block wall.
Yeah.
Very not cost effective. And that noise, since you're gonna use drywall, you're not gonna use cinder block. So a razor
gonna have that hum,
razor
yeah.
knife and that, you're not really, so the window, your concept of a window is, I would replace the windows in that office for security before I'd build a room around that
Okay.
for.
So, temper-proof and shatterproof glass and bars on the window,
I didn't go with bars, you said bars.
would really step up the security of that room and not cost maybe 20 grand, I don't know, but it's just something to consider, so. I think this is something the board's gonna have to consider and really come up with a plan and a timeline, both for carpeting and what to do with the IT structure, in the next couple of months, so.
On
again,
the IT thing is, depending on what your property people say, I mean, you could pull, the way it was wired, because it was wired into the rack. Like, all the wiring was brought into the rack of the server, instead of put on the wall where you could just unplug a few things and move the rack aside,
Yeah,
take everything down, and then, I guess you're an IT guy? So they wired all the amphanols, all the connectors into the rack itself instead of leaving it on the data field. So you could just move it back to the data field, that's the 7th, move it back to the data field, run the cables, and then move it, the rack. That was the big problem, is instead of leaving it on the data field, they wired it into the rack itself.
And we still need a secured box for
Right.
that too.
Yes.
all right, well, we got a lot to consider, which is always a lot of fun, but, maybe this should be a vote for the next board to determine what's gonna happen. I mean,
It can.
it's there's 4 or 5 different options, and,
Right.
depending on what fits into the budget and the time scale, and there's a lot to consider, and I don't know which one would be the best option, in my opinion, at this moment right now anyways. So, I appreciate you coming in and providing us with this information. This is, something we're gonna have to think about and consider. Hopefully in the next 2-4 weeks, we can make a decision and start coming up with a timeline. You know, we'll have to work with the carpeting people to find out what their scheduling is gonna look like. If it is gonna be May, if it is gonna be May, or if that's gonna push to June, that might give us a little bit more time to think about this. And then provide you with some kind of feedback on what route we're gonna go with.
Right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well,
Yep.
I still want to do Office 365 with you.
Okay,
That's another item.
okay. Oh, that wasn't including Office 365. All right.
No, that's rather expensive. Is currently, the town uses Microsoft Exchange
Yep.
on a premise solution. Each one of your mailboxes stores the data here, and you do not own or maintain a fully compliant FOIA system, Freedom of Information Act.
Mm-hmm.
My recommendation in the past, and again now part of this, is to move to Office 365. It used to be called Government, GCC 1 and 2, it's the government contract with Microsoft, but it's now called Microsoft Exchange Online Plan 2 for GCC. That's a government pricing.
Of course it is.
Every mailbox costs you $8, and people will say, I can go online and get Microsoft for $5. They're right. That's a mailbox. The mailbox from Microsoft costs you $4. The e-discovery and legal hold part of it is the additional $4.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone sends an email, they delete it from their inbox, from their sent, whatever, it's never really deleted, it's maintained for that side. So you have, right now, 125 mailboxes in use. So that $8 a mailbox, your cost from Microsoft would be $1,000 per month, or $12,000 per year. Every new mailbox on a new hire would cost you an additional $8.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to make sure, a lot of people say, we'll do it, and then they get 10 new hires, and they're like, well, we didn't budget that. Well, you're going to have to think, a new hire costs you something.
Do you know if all 125 mailboxes are active, or some of those from past employees, or?
Some of them for past employees, but to put them into the legal hold, you have to move them up in that point. There's not a lot that, we try to cull down the mailboxes that should be jettisoned,
Yeah,
but that is a pretty accurate on the,
Okay.
because of your firefighters, your reserve officers, your boards and things like that.
got it.
To take 125 mailboxes, you use a piece of software that connects your current Exchange server to Microsoft's Exchange server. It's a piece of software that connects it and throws it across. That is a one-time fee per mailbox of $15 a mailbox. So that is an $1,875 cost to use that software. Basically, you set it up, you link them both, and over a couple of weeks, it moves all your emails, all new emails, all contacts, all calendars, and puts them all over into Microsoft. So when you cut, they're all in your new mailbox. Then you got to touch every machine to now configure people's computers, make sure they get their configuration and stuff like that. That is a $9,500 one-time charge. It's a $12,375 charge, but your annual first-year cost is over $23,000 because it's $1,000 a month for Microsoft. So every month, you're going to keep on getting a $1,000 bill from Microsoft for your emails, and that goes on in perpetuity. Just want to make sure that, but it does give you the ability that your Exchange server is no longer in this building. The building's down, you still have email, you still follow the entire FOIA requirements from the state and the Fed. It's no longer in the building. You do not have a single point of failure. And 3.5 weeks ago, and I can't read your name at this angle, you probably know that Microsoft put out that there was a large security hole on premise-based exchanges it was in the national news. We patched you guys up in the sense of we put the security updates in it, but it is a large security hole to the town network.
You're full of all kinds of good news tonight, huh? So,
Catherine asked me to be the depressing guy today.
no, I get it. I mean, somebody has to present this. So if I'm looking at your biggest proposal from the first item, and this other charge for Office 365, and this one-time charge to connect what we currently have with Exchange over to Office 365, and then mailboxes and other one-time charges, we're about $50,000.
Yes, sir. In my
Coming off a budget season that was tight as it was, and now we're looking at 50 grand to do this.
And that's not even phones.
That's not even phones, which is another topic to talk about. Okay,
so,
yeah, go ahead.
as your IT consultant, my recommendation in your budget world is I would strongly recommend you go to Office 365 in the cloud
Yeah,
from a security and a prevention for the town. The moving of the server, if it's a budget number, move the server, do the smaller budget, and then look at next year's budget numbers to say, hey, and then I'll move the rest of the gear out of that office.
pieces, yeah.
Is a better, plan. I would say of the $9,000, if we can have it on a Friday from the vendor, I would say you're probably throwing away about $1,000 to $1,500 if you do the rest of the cabling in a couple of years. So I just want to be honest with you, you have a burn of $1,500, if you did it now, I think your saving is about a $1,500 savings.
Got it.
But I just want to put it
Yep.
out there, that is a better spend of you. If you did those two, this is a better security for you, to have it in the cloud. Easier to disconnect people from their email. Someone gives up their credentials, anyone can be shown that his security privilege is to disconnect account, stop an account, things like that from on the portal at 2:00 in the morning to a Saturday. It's a lot easier.
Is that all just a user interface where you can just
Yes.
click and deactivate and
Yes, sir.
click or activate? Yeah, okay.
We can use two-factor authentication, it's included in Microsoft. There's a lot more features, so in your guys' responsibility to do great budgeting is that going to Office 365 and just moving the gear, leave the gear on the wall. Unfortunately, people are gonna deal with the noise, and then plan that next step maybe next year or when the economy recovers from this, devastating time, so.
Yeah, so scale it rather than bite it all off at once.
Yes, sir,
Got it,
would be my recommendation.
got it. Okay, any other questions from the board members?
I know you want to wire something, so.
Me?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out my saw, I'm gonna cut a,
Gonna
I'm
start
gonna hole in the
wiring.
door, gonna mount some louvers, and then I'm gonna get up in
I
the
get the
crawl space.
impression you're going to hang the computer outside the window a little
Yeah.
bit on a ledge or something,
Why
and,
not take on another job?
yeah,
questions
I
over
could
here?
just see it
I'm just
happening.
wondering, what's the balance in our cable account? And
I wanna say it was 150 or 200, I don't remember the exact number, but that's just a
Yeah,
guess.
What would that-
thinking about
Where do we
125.
see that in the,
The other thing is,
I don't know, do we see it in the variance
our
report?
servers are 5 years old. We've just recently replaced all our communication equipment there.
Yes, sir, yes.
What else do you see on the horizon? Because I'm not thinking this is a budget issue. I'm thinking this might be a simple movement from the cable account, because this is all IT related. Do you see any other pending need for equipment like this that's,
Your desktops that need to be cycled out, your servers. As your IT consultant, my thing, your immediate need is cyber training for your staff,
Mm-hmm.
okay? That is, don't spend money with me, you're gonna spend with an IT guy or a company, but I would rather, if you said to me, Red, here's X thousands of dollars, what should we do with it? My first recommendation is train the end user. They are your first line of defense. They're hardworking, they're here. Give them a little extra training so they know. Because the reason the town is attacked on a cyber basis is you're open 24 hours a day. You have a wallet that really criminals think is endless, but we know it's not.
Yep.
And constituents send emails. Constituents send things in and say, hey, can you read this? And it could be crypto, it could be malware, it could be sitting there doing, and your staff is doing nothing wrong. They're doing their job. But training them is a better spend of your IT dollar than buying the high-tech, cool piece of tech. I can give you some great technology, but I can honestly tell you that SpaceX spends $100 million a year on cybersecurity, and they were hit last year. You guys don't have $100 million, but you have high-quality people, so giving them a little training is the best. So if you said to me, hey, great, get money for a new PC for someone, yeah, they're gonna need it. You're gonna need new servers, you're gonna need some new PCs, you're gonna need some new monitors. I would be glad to help you out and come up with what we call a PC life cycle, so it's not a big, hey, get whacked every 5 years for 70, 90, 80, and 100 grand. You can say, hey, we should budget 35 grand a year. I'm just throwing a number.
Yeah.
Put it out there and say, we're gonna budget that every year, but we're gonna cycle 60 PCs this year, or 20 PCs, servers, firewall, and come in that nice cycle so you know your expenses. That's where I'd rather see you spend your money and do a PC life cycle plan so you're not sticker shocked. But at first, right now, spend your money. Giving your staff some cyber training is a great spend for you guys.
What's the cost? Per individual?
Per individual, you're probably gonna pay about $27 to $35 for a decent, you do a fishing expedition on them.
Yep.
They pass, you go good, but then you give them a little more training. So, I mean, I would budget $35 per staff member, including the fire and police. And I know I just spend more of your money. But that's a better spend of your dollar because it will save you less. And guys, it's not if you're gonna get hit, it's when you are going to get hit. Any one of my competitors that comes in says, I can protect you 100%. Pentagon gets hacked every 5 years. I think they got $3.4 billion in cybersecurity, and they still get.
Well, nothing is 100% secure.
Right, but I just wanna
So-
say-
Right, but you're right, the first line of defense is the user to recognize that this doesn't look like a relative email, or, look at the hyperlinks or the from sender. It doesn't say Bank of America, it says BANKK of America, or something like that.
It also teaches your staff it's okay to breathe. When you get inundated with 80 emails on a Monday morning, take your time to breathe and look at the email and it's okay, versus I gotta jam 80 things out. So it's some training to the staff and to their managers to say, it's okay to breathe and take your time, versus spending technology money on a cool, slick piece of equipment.
Right.
And I sell cool, slick pieces of equipment, but your money's spent better places.
I like slick IT.
I got a
Yeah, go
question,
ahead.
Vaughn.
Yes, sir.
Just quickly.
Yes, sir.
As the IT consultant,
Yes.
if an office in town hall gets a new computer, do you come in and hook that up and connect to everything?
Yes, sir.
You do.
We're part of that. Well, for here, the police is self-sustained. We've helped the police in the past a couple times, but we set up their email and stuff, but for here, we do the town hall, the town departments. The police has been self-sufficient. I believe I heard in your conversation that the sergeant retired.
Yes,
He was a great IT resource.
lieutenant, yeah.
Lieutenant, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
yep, he got a lieutenant a few years ago, I apologize. I can remember when he was a sergeant. He was a great IT resource.
Yes.
Could you pay attention on the
So-
computer, on the television? You put that onto the person that's speaking?
So yes, sir. So what we would get a notice if you want to buy our computer. We'd come in, set it up, put email on it, put Office on it.
Good.
We put virus protection on it. We maintain that part of it. So we do here in another town close by. We
Thank you.
actually do Haverhill and Georgetown also.
Got it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we have some things to think about. I think first step is to figure out what's left in that budget, that line item, and then make some decisions from there.
And
then-
anytime during a I know you're in budget crunch now, if you guys just want an overview or a time.
Oh, I think we're gonna have
I
you
would be
back.
glad to come in,
Yeah.
and just speak.
I think we're gonna have to have you back to go over these options
Glad to help
again,
out.
and then decide from there what the budget looks like, and then what our first course of action is going to look like, and then maybe it's a scaled attempt, maybe it's an all-in-one if we have it, who knows, but
Cool.
we're definitely gonna have you back. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Good night.
Catherine, cabling of new system servers? No, I'm sorry, phone system decommission transfer, the voice over IP,
He was gonna help me with that. Weren't responsive today, Ministry,
okay,
so, and I didn't get any quotes from them, but that's, sorry. I don't
let's
know.
move that to the next
Coming
item.
back.
Catherine, do you need help on the phone system?
I love the way he just pops back in. That's
Come on
perfect.
back, we missed you.
Yeah, you don't get out that easy.
So, there was
I heard her getting driven under the bus on phone.
You didn't get out fast enough.
yeah.
I know, it's
So,
really,
the decommission of the current system versus moving to voice over IP, there's some kind of leeway that we're trying to do at a state level without being basically just dropped until we can move from copper wire to voice over IP. Is that basically what I'm looking at?
yes, sir.
Okay.
So currently, in
You can just call me
towns,
Mike too, you don't have to call me sir, that's,
my mother had a great right
I
hook.
get it, I get it.
So,
Let's,
my head
There.
still feels it this year's,
just Mike.
this many years later. So currently, the town uses both PRI and copper.
mm-hmm,
Copper allows you to have no electricity in your facility and the phone will still work.
Right.
Because the phone company is allowed to generate. Verizon has designated Massachusetts a set of towns that have multiple methods to get phone service through Comcast and Verizon. So they were allowed by the Federal Communication to slate these towns to dismantle and disconnect anyone on copper. So, hey, you have access to Verizon, you have access to Comcast, you can get telephony services, we can disconnect. I can personally tell you, a touching town, very close by, going that way, had the same problem last year.
yeah,
They disconnected their phones. We worked with them very late night, and we got them to turn the copper back on,
really,
because they're a town. But the bad thing for a town, and a good thing for a town, is you've been around since I might need new glasses. For so many years, a lot of your phone equipment is marked as residential because when you got it, it was a resident.
right,
And it went translated from Baby Bell to Ma Bell to Dynex to Verizon. It never translated correctly. So they still recognize it as a copper line. So when Catherine and I met with your service carrier, you have a service carrier of Windstream
mm-hmm,
and a service carrier of Verizon. So Windstream bought Earthlink. That was another one of your service providers. So when we met with them, they said, oh, you gotta be switched by this date. Well, since you're a municipality, you don't have, you're allowed to go back and say, no, we are a municipality. We feel bad for our constituents, and it would be a good thing from your guys' point of view, make sure your constituents understand, especially the elderly, that your copper line, if you're not paying attention to your phone bill, could be disconnected soon.
mm-hmm,
Because you have, that phone just works, and you don't have Comcast, and you don't have cable, and you don't have Verizon, Fios. You just have a nice princess phone on the house, in the kitchen.
right,
All of a sudden, that can stop working. You guys have water meters, different devices that use copper, security systems, alarm systems, elevator systems. And you guys do not have all the great documentation saying, here's line 1, here's line 2, we can switch this out. And we just found, what was it, last Thursday, Wednesday?
Thursday, yeah.
That, hey, you gotta be this. So I had suggested to Catherine and the keepers to say, hey, reach out and say, wait a minute, we need an extension if you really hold it. Or, hey, we're really a municipality and we're in the middle of COVID still.
right,
Really leave us alone until, and how about you leave the constituents alone too until someone can have the Verizon tech come to their house, can have the Comcast tech come to their house, and they're comfortable. So I pushed it back on you guys.
Yeah.
saying, let's reach out to those people and say, let's stop that. Give us time, as the collective us, the town of Groveland, get the right answers and say, hey, here's a good technical solution. We're gonna do this here and this here and this there versus, I almost did a bad thing, and kind of put something to your head and say, hey, you need to do it by Tuesday.
right,
So that's why I kind of think.
But is that conversation happening at a state level now? Where the state's getting involved and saying you can't force this change on municipalities?
Not that I know of.
All right, so I gotta call my senator again.
Senator and say, great, and Catherine, I know, was working, they still haven't got, Friday, they were supposed to send us data saying, because they were expecting, no offense, hey, we're gonna mull over this town, and I've been doing IT for 35 years, so they weren't able to mow her over and say, hey, we gotta do this. I go, no, we're a municipality, get this the answer. I mean, there's still work and there's still expense that you don't even know,
Right.
because no one can tell me that at X school, there's a copper line that's doing this, and it's maybe it's part of the grease trap system. I don't know. So, those are the things, or, hey, I know there's not an elevator in this building, but is there an alarm panel somewhere that tied in? Your alarm people are great, they can tell you that one, I'm just using it as an example. That's where we have to get that information, so when it does get shut off, it's not a crisis situation.
Okay, I will have that other call with our senator and representative, hopefully this week.
So,
Figure out where we are with that.
and there are other towns, and I'll try to pull out the list, but there was a list produced before the pandemic, about 8 months before the pandemic. It showed a list of towns that they were approved for Verizon to decom copper. And I don't know where that list stands now from their point of view. I know Georgetown still has some copper in it, but they did literally cut them off, and I was able to fight hard enough to get it turned back on, with the help of all the people in the town, or the town offices.
Okay,
But it's something that's coming.
yeah. Well, hopefully we can have that conversation and push that off for another year, because that'll be helpful, rather than just saying, do it by Friday and then.
Well, Windstream was saying you needed to do it by June 1st.
That's
That will
not-
be a
yeah.
heavy lift for you guys.
Right,
What is this copper thing?
copper phone lines?
Oh, okay, so that's not why the electric department's replacing all their meters, is it?
It might be part of it to move
Okay.
away from copper and then do Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi,
'Cause they're
analog,
replacing all the
satellite,
meters.
yes.
Yeah. So that might be part of the reason for it. I would have guessed that the reason to move to new meters would be more.
Convenience.
Convenient, yep.
Convenience, but
Yeah.
accuracy, and then being able just to drive by a house and take a reading, by Wi-Fi.
So
Yes, ma'am.
are you talking about replacing lines inside a house or overhead? What are we talking about?
So for you guys, it's copper, it's replacing a line in the house from that,
So in this
where the
building?
point in the house is, because right now, copper goes to a small gray box, usually in a house, and then it wires out to all the rooms. What Comcast or Verizon can do, and they do a good job, they can come to that post and they put a digital box, and then they make it look exactly like analog line. So you don't have to rewire your whole house if you have phones in every room.
Oh, okay.
But the downside is if you lose power in the middle of the night, and the batteries only have so much life left up,
Right.
when the batteries end, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and your smoke detector goes off, you don't have dial tone. Because the phone company is no longer producing electricity to give you dial tone.
Okay.
And the argument people will say, well, you always have your cell phone. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, the cell phone's in this first floor, you don't,
Right.
so.
You get it, the
A little
hardwire
bit, yeah.
versus the voice
Yeah,
over
I-
IP, yeah.
Right, but so for like the younger generation that are starting out, like my kids, they don't even have a landline in their
Yes, ma'am, you're
apartments.
correct.
Right.
Yeah,
It's-
so
I
they
don't
don't
have a
even
landline
have to,
either.
you probably, yeah, you young uns.
I don't know
Yeah.
how young I am, but.
Yeah, I always ask my husband, why do we still have a landline? He goes, well, you gotta have a landline. I'm like,
Actually, I don't
"Okay."
even use my voice over IP now.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
even know what my home number is, because I don't use voice over IP, I just use cell, so.
Okay, yes.
But I keep my cell phone, which I probably shouldn't, next to my bed at night, which, is buzzing and beeping and all that other stuff, because.
And it's moving to that direction, it's more of the accelerated time frame to say, hey, just disconnect, to have the elevator services, the alarm panels and that, and it's going to go there.
Yeah,
It is just that finding out less than a week ago that you had until June 1st, that would hurt you,
Right,
financially, to get it done that quickly.
right. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry to step back in,
No,
but
no.
I heard phones.
If you don't get out now, we're gonna
should-
keep you here.
You should just run.
One question?
I've got a quick question for you, though.
Yes, sir.
It sounds to me like Verizon or whoever wants to cannibalize their copper lines because they're supporting more than one system right now.
Copper lines are expensive to maintain, sir. Yes, sir.
And they're also supporting voice over internet, right?
Yes.
Another system. So say a town like us
Yeah.
doesn't have FiOS because Verizon never wanted to put it
They
in.
haven't been mandated to cut copper. One of the litmuses at the time of cutting, you had to have two, Comcast and Verizon had to be in the town.
Oh, so we're good for we're good for another 1,000 years because Verizon's never coming here with
Right,
FiOS.
They move that forward and say, well, you have Comcast, you now can cut these towns. The original litmus was,
So they keep moving the goalposts.
Yeah.
Somebody's profit margins is what it sounds like to me. The shareholders win, the citizens lose again. Okay, I get it.
the technology is excellent for FiOS and Comcast. It's the redundant power is the only thing that it doesn't have. It's better quality, it's better service, it has more functionality, but you have to maintain a battery backup, and now that price is, you're paying it in your copper bill.
Right.
They're just moving it this way, but no offense to people get lazy, they forget to change the batteries, and when they need it, it's not there. So,
Got it. All set?
Yeah.
Another headache. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm leaving now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank
Bye.
you. Get out while you
Thank you.
My
can.
advice would be run.
So the Powers and Sullivan is not being,
They could not.
right, all right, so that should probably be moved to the next meeting. So we can have their.
Which one is that?
That's the
Powers
audit,
and
Powers and
Sullivan
Sullivan.
While we're on that subject, though, is it my understanding that we've received the typical audit books that we normally get? It's, we usually get 2 books. One's like a management letter, and the other one is,
I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard that we at least have a digital copy, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think there's a digital copy, but I don't remember seeing it either.
I know we haven't seen it. That's my question. Usually, we have it in our hands, and we've had a period of time to review it before the auditors come before us, so that we have questions to ask them because we've been able to review the 2 pieces of material. So now we're almost into May. The year end would have been last June,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess I'm wondering where my book is, or my books are.
So if we can get them on for the next meeting and then maybe have them supply a hard copy of those
Yep.
prior to that, obviously.
If I get it, do you want me to distribute it ahead of time?
You can leave it in the mailboxes.
Hard copy for everybody.
Yeah, leave it in the mailboxes so we can
Typically,
swing
we
by.
get the book.
The
Yeah,
blue books.
Two
or
books,
whatever.
two books. Management letter and I can't think of
And
the other.
their audit report,
Yeah.
which has
So,
the
Mike,
financials and
I do
everything else.
have the digital copy.
Yeah, you can't ask
Yeah,
them
but
any
we should have
questions
the
unless
hard
you
Right,
have the book,
but
you
I
can read it over
can't
I
before.
distribute
need to
it.
review it.
You can send it to her and she can
Uh,
distribute
Okay,
it.
so I
To
can
see
send
if
it
they
to you.
found any
'cause I'm-
material
I didn't know.
weaknesses, deficiencies, things that need to be explored or
Yeah,
expanded
yeah, if you want to
upon.
send it to her
Well,
and then we
if-
can at least get
if-
the digital copy
If they don't get those within the
disseminated.
next 2 weeks, we can't really meet
Okay.
with them.
She has a hard
But I
copy?
believe that they've been out for a long time.
She has that now? All right,
We
so
just
Ellen
haven't had them, which is,
has a hard copy for us, so she'll put that in our mailboxes.
Ellen has a hard copy of both books.
She said she can give them all a hard copy and electronic copy.
I guess I'll ask them what happened to our typical, when they come in, what happened to our typical literature that we're used to
We might
getting.
have it in our office.
Yeah, we need the actual books.
That should be disseminated the minute they hit the ground here. And if
All
they
right, so let's
haven't-
get that into at least the digital form to us and then the hard copies in the mailboxes so we can pick those up, please?
Or can we start and ask them if they've actually sent us the 2 books that we get every
Ellen
year?
says she has them.
So she has them.
I think so. That's what her text message said. She has them and she can give them out.
Can you tell
Catherine,
me
do
how
you want
long
one?
she's had them?
I have no idea.
Catherine, are you offline here? Are you offline?
No, we're still good.
All right, let's get those out
Thank you.
ASAP, please. The other thing that's on here that we probably don't have is the actual contract for the treasurer collector. You're working on that,
To get that,
but that's something that you know is somewhere in the office over there. Someone just needs to find it.
correct.
If you can get copies of that, either emailed or in the mailboxes as well, so we can have those for review, thank you. Let's see, before we get to something that takes a while, the local holiday acceptance of Juneteenth, does everybody know what that is?
No.
Yes, I do.
No, I don't.
I know what it is, but,
In your packet.
Juneteenth is the date that commemorates basically a mass slaughter in Tulsa, Oklahoma on June 19th, and I don't recall the year. So it's celebrated a lot in other parts of the country as kind of an Independence Day in the African-American community, I believe.
yeah, so it's also known as I'm just gonna look it up, also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Liberation Day, and Emancipation Day, is a holiday celebrating emancipation of those who had been enslaved in the United States. So I guess the question before us, and really the vote before us, is the state has recognized this as a national or a statewide holiday, and municipalities are asked to also acknowledge the acceptance of that as a statewide holiday. So that's before us to vote on accepting the local holiday for Juneteenth as a day of acceptance for the town, at
And
the town level.
will it be the same day every year, or is it like the first or third Monday?
No,
I
it's
mean-
always June 19th, so whatever day that
So
falls on.
whatever
Like, it's
June-
now it's a Saturday.
It'll be a Monday
No, she
holiday,
just said
Bill,
it's
it looks like,
Monday.
yeah.
So this year it falls on a Saturday?
This, right, this is a Saturday,
The following Monday.
right. So it'll be observed on the following,
So will it always be observed on a Monday, or will it be observed?
no, if it's
No.
June 19th and it's a Wednesday, obviously it'll be
Okay.
June 19th that Wednesday.
Right here,
June 19th?
so 2021.
Whenever it falls on a Saturday or a Sunday, it goes to a Monday. But every other year, it could be a Wednesday, it could be a Tuesday, it could be whatever, right?
Yes.
And everything will be closed?
Whatever the directives of the state is. So if it's a statewide holiday or a regional holiday, then,
Okay.
And you just have,
yeah,
I don't think banks will be closed, but you'll have municipal offices, town
Right.
governments, city halls, town halls will be closed. I don't think it'll affect trash pickup or anything else.
So what type of motion are they looking, do we have to accept it? If the state's already accepted it, why do,
we have to accept it at the local level.
Has to be local.
oh, okay.
Because what we're doing is we're adding another paid holiday to every town employee.
Right, yeah, that's
So,
a good thing.
somebody want to make a
If you're a
motion?
town employee, heck yeah.
How is the state law set up? Is it, do you know, have you read the state law? Is it set up as a, like that the employees could take it as an optional holiday? Could they do,
Flex day or
the
something?
day after Christmas or something for holiday on the week rather than this
Oh.
particular one? Do you know if it's optional? Can it be movable?
It says, all legal holidays observed in Massachusetts, state, county, municipal offices are closed on the days listed. Federal offices
And that's it,
are
it's not
closed on
optional.
federal government recognized days.
Okay, that explains it.
Yep.
Thank you.
So does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that the town of Groveland, adds Juneteenth, Independence Day, to its regularly, to its list of paid holidays.
Second.
A motion and a second, any further discussion?
Do we add it this year then? So this year it starts the minute we vote today?
It
Is-
looks like it starts this year, 2021.
Yeah, June 1st would probably, yeah.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. The other thing that should be relatively quick is Council on Aging Hiring Committee. So we need to have a couple of members of this board, I think, join in the committee to interview think it's Lynn's replacement. So does anybody have any interest in,
Yeah, I will.
Ed's gonna join, anybody else?
I'll join.
Of course he,
Okay, I was
Jason will
hoping you
join.
would, Jason.
Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Yeah?
So do I need to revote it, or just say?
No, I don't think so. I think,
Yeah, votes, possible votes. So I'll make a motion that the board accept Selectman Watson and Selectman Naves as two members of the Selectmen to be placed on the Council of Aging Hiring Committee.
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Any discussion?
I think we already discussed that.
We haven't discussed it after the motion. They might not want to do it, who knows?
Did you change your mind, Jason?
No,
Right,
Did you
we
change your mind,
voted.
Ed?
We already voted.
No,
Okay.
not yet, but maybe once we get rolling.
Yeah.
There was some discussion in the hallways today, we were wondering when that might take place, because it was rumored that it would be after town meeting.
I think that should probably take place sooner than later, because Lynn
Yeah.
is ending at the end of April. So
Right.
I would say early May, because I think you already have a bunch of resumes to go through.
You have it before you
I have a bunch of resumes to go through.
You can pass them to someone
Hey.
else.
But now I'm gonna pass
Shoot
that
him
off
out.
to Selectman Naves, and he can start reviewing this. But we do need to have other people added to that committee.
Yes, I believe one of Council on Aging was going to, that board was gonna nominate someone.
Yeah,
Was it Chief Gillen?
Chief Gillen, yeah.
Yes.
I haven't asked him.
Yeah, I already talked to him about it. He said he's willing to help whatever.
That's awesome.
Good deal.
So,
All in
aye.
favor?
Aye.
I
Abstain,
abstain.
abstain. Thank you. Let's go over to town meeting items. Was there anything left on that? I think we're okay as far as everything that was on our list from previous meetings. Do you have anything, Bill?
No, not as far as I can see.
Ed, do you have anything to add for town?
No, I do not.
Kathy?
Well, I've been checking the numbers, and there is that mistake on the total education, which unfortunately affects the second column in, and then carries down to the total at the very bottom by 200,000. It's just, it's correct in the total education requested, but then right below it, that was the old number that had the $250,000 in it. And then that got carried to the bottom line, unfortunately. So it's just like, I guess at town meeting, we could just make that correction quickly.
What column are we looking at?
If you look at the education, you know how it says the
Yeah.
and then it should match, like when you go from the subtotal to the total education, that should be a match. See in the second column how it's not a match?
So we're talking the requested,
Yeah, that's a
FY
requested
2022.
column, right.
the 13,157.04.
The 13,157.04, yep. And then below it, see that 13,3, yeah, that's not the correct number. And then I believe that number got picked up in the total at the bottom. So for comparison purposes, you'd want to fix that. You know, the total omnibus, that's all.
For requested,
Yes,
but we're
yes.
actually gonna be voting on
Yes, but just, I feel like we
third or
should.
fourth.
We shouldn't wait till someone says why these don't match, you know, because it's an obvious they should match. You should say, okay, yeah, change that and, or we could just, if you want to change it when we print it to hand out, I mean, I think that's fine. I don't, you know, either way, so that it's correct.
So you're saying there's a spreadsheet problem?
Yes, and the other thing, I was looking through some of my emails, and I kind of missed it when Mike Dempsey emailed that he had a new name for this conservation agent, and I typed it into my corrected one. It's just something I thought we might, he wanted to call it the Environmental Program Coordinator, because the person's going to do conservation and VZ Park. And then at the top of the omnibus, the language that was in there that night when we were talking about the VZ Park money, the one about transferring, it's not in there anymore. So we just have to be aware that, as Mike Dempsey said, $21,000 is coming from VZ and $21,000 is coming from conservation fees, so that if somebody at the town meeting says, why should we pay our $42,000 out of our taxes? They're not.
Right.
And I guess we're not gonna say it in this at the beginning of the article anymore, it's not there. So I assume it's gonna go on the revenue side somewhere?
It does, it's $44,000 on the revenue side.
And
that
he, oh yeah, and he said $2,000
21
towards
and
expenses
21
to.
from one and 23 from the other.
Yeah, so we're not gonna, it's not in the language at the beginning of this article anymore, like it was on the draft at the time we looked at it, so I'm assuming it'll just show up in the revenue forecast. But in case there's a question at town meeting, the explanation is this is not being funded by the tax rate.
I'm sure Mr. Dempsey will be the first to jump up to that microphone to explain that all.
Well, he wants to make sure that people know.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
that's a good thing, so.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, anything else, Jason,
No.
under that topic? You good, Kathy?
Well, I haven't looked through all the articles yet. I actually just went and double-checked all this stuff, just to be sure. And then I'll start looking at the articles too.
Okay.
Just to make sure.
So let's move to another big item that we got information on today, trash collection
Oh,
contract.
I know. We just got the information.
Yeah, I mean, this was gonna be on the agenda anyways. I did take a quick look at the documents. There were quite a few of them.
Yeah, I looked at them very quickly.
If I look at the one revised proposal extension offer for Groveland,
Yeah, I have that.
there's the original offer, and then there's the information on solid waste rate per ton, and then there's a revised offer.
Yeah, I'd like to just, have some time to kind of look at these and absorb them a little more.
Okay.
And,
I agree.
Yeah.
Getting this late in the day requires a little bit more,
Scrutiny?
yeah, but I just want to point it out to people that it was submitted this afternoon. And just to make sure that the numbers are what we were looking for, based on the percentage rate that we kind of agreed that we wanted to look at, based on a ramp up, rather than a flat all the way across. So, but this is something that we should possibly have an extra meeting on,
yeah.
or early May meeting at the latest, to vote on what that contract's gonna look like. Because I think this is ending the end of May, end of June, June 30th, I think that contract expires. Is that right?
June 30th,
June
yes.
30th.
Yes.
So we have a few weeks,
We
but I
have
do want to
time.
have time for this discussion to happen, because there are a lot of numbers and a lot of options.
Right, and I was wondering, could he provide us, he talked about this program of selling the extra bags. Could he provide us like with an outline of that? What is the normal charge? I mean, do they get a payment for each bag? He said we could add money onto it for the town as a source of revenue to the town.
He used vague numbers
Yeah.
on the call. But
Correct.
you're right, it wasn't accurate numbers, what a roll of those extra bags would cost for families that have more than the,
Right, I'd like to know from
70.
him, what is he going to want for every bag? Because isn't that what would happen, like, when,
well, that comes in the cost of the roll. So say the roll is
okay,
$50 each, and there's 10 bags on each roll. I'm just using numbers.
no, I know. I get
That
that.
gives us the cost of their cost to pick that up. Our
Correct.
cost to sell it back to the town, and then if there's any leftover increase out of that we can put back into revenue.
I thought that was discussed.
I don't remember the exact
I could
number.
have sworn I heard $3 a bag, and that the town would get like $1.26.
Well, he threw the odd number, I agree with
I
that,
remember
that
the odd
odd number, but what I thought he meant was that we could put on whatever surcharge we wanted to the bag, as a separate, like, kind of revenue, source for
I
the
think we
town.
could, but I think, you have to weigh that between, discouraging people
Oh, I
to
know,
throw out trash because it becomes too expensive, and then they take care of it in other ways
Right.
that
Oh,
are
yes.
not, the way we'd want them to do. So we've got to really be careful. There's a tipping point there where people will not pay. They'll find alternative ways to dispose of that trash and maybe not so appropriately. So I think we've got to be very cognizant of that where that tipping point is.
Correct. And the other thing he did suggest is that the value of the recycling was now swinging a bit the other way, but I guess he's not really able to show us that in any real way, because he cannot guarantee that in the contract.
Right, recycling is a commodity like any other commodity, pork bellies, oil, whatever. It's subject to market fluctuations, and nobody really can accurately predict, 5 years down the road where that's gonna be.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at I need more time on this to look at the original was the 20, then 777. Now we're at 14 and 8, then 10, 10, 10, which is, percentage-wise. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot of increase. I know trash has become an expensive commodity.
Yeah, that's something he kept saying. It's just a matter of how you divide the pie.
Right, the
five
pie's gonna be the
numbers are gonna
same.
be pretty much the same.
Hmm?
And the big advantage of this here is since we were so tight and so close on our budget, would have an extra $30,000 this first year as a cushion. But we're still gonna spend it outright and
Well-
by the end of the 5 years.
Well, I agree and disagree with him, because what we're proposing is that the people that are able to, you can have as many recycling bins as you want, and you can have 235 or one, like we have, 164 gallon. And if you can do that every week, then you don't have to buy the bags. But if you need to throw out more for whatever reason, you're able to do that, but you're now going to be sort of pay as you throw. So we're taking the higher end trash throwing out, and we are moving that cost to them, so it's not exactly the same.
Right, but it's not gonna change the proposal for the 5-year contract. That's just when you collect that money, then you're gonna see the benefits of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's estimating the collection costs, I agree with you 100%. That's not gonna change based on recycling or barrels. However, the tonnage could change based on increased recycling. If people
Yeah.
decide that they're gonna get 2 big recycling bins so that they don't have to buy the bags, then that is gonna go to recycling. And if, as he says, recycling is swinging a bit the other way now,
Yeah,
that would benefit the town.
Yeah.
It would definitely benefit the town, but I don't think it changes these numbers.
It changes the tonnage. The tonnage is the trash.
Well, wait a minute. It only changes it if the things you put in the recycle bin are actually recyclable.
Correct, that too.
So you can't stuff the recycle bin because you don't want to pay $3 for a bag. And
yes.
then when they get to the recycle plant, they say, 90% of this is not recyclable, only 10% is, and then, you
Correct.
know what?
So then we
That's
get-
tonnage.
Right, because they do that was what he was telling me the single stream is, that everything goes in, and then there's,
There's a sorting process.
hard to believe this, but it gets sorted.
It does.
So you sort it at home, it goes into a single stream, and then it gets sorted at the plant,
I don't really,
right? That's basically what's happening.
well, yeah, so one would wonder, why not just,
Not sorted at home.
but okay.
I got
okay.
it.
But from what I understood, it still wouldn't change this. What it would change is the credits that we get during the year, depending on what those recycles are.
Correct.
Because it is single stream, it still goes there. The tonnage is still the same, except we get credits based on what they pay for recycling.
Okay, so you think the recycling is included in the tonnage?
Yeah.
Do you think
Because
that,
they
or
collect
do you
it, they
think that
dump
as
it, and
well?
then they sort it.
I think so.
Yeah, I
And
think
then
so.
we get the.
Okay, I didn't see, I'd have to look at the contract and see that. I thought the tonnage was directly connected to whatever didn't get sorted out as recycling. But no, you may be right. I need to read the
I think
contract again
Jason's
now.
right.
Yeah, because on the
You could be
sheets
right.
that they showed us last time, they showed us where the credits were applied to the
Yes.
tonnage.
Yes.
Okay,
So-
and, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so, there's a lot of information that was sent over, so obviously, we're not prepared to vote on anything tonight, but it should be a discussion that happens at the next or subsequent meeting. Because this is something that we're gonna have to make a decision on, one way or another. Either to have a ramping up or a ramping down of the percentages, but you're right, the pie is gonna stay the same. It's how do we wanna break it up?
Do we know the other towns that they're servicing and kind of what those contracts are at, just for comparison purposes?
I heard something
Are
about
we
West
allowed to
Newbury.
ask?
He gave us some.
Yeah.
He gave us some.
It'd be interesting just to see the other contracts for
Some are
comparison.
higher, some are lower in the middle, but I'd like to offer another suggestion.
Go for it.
I was talking to, it just happened to run into, and I hate going over there anyways, besides the point. Talking to a former finance director of ours, and he said, Bill, the RFP is in the computer, it's ready to go. And we've got enough time, I think we ought to send out an RFP. If it's in the computer and ready to go, and all we need to do is change some dates, I think it behooves us, and we've got the time to send out, a request for quotes, a pricing, and see what comes back, and see if we can beat these. And if we can beat these, then we have a leverage to renegotiate what they've offered, because now we've got somebody that possibly do it for less cost. It doesn't cost us anything.
Yep. No, it's
But I think we're still using the same behavioral facility, no matter what company we use to.
Correct, but somebody else's overhead might be half of what these people's are, and they say, well, we can do it at 20% margin and still make money, where somebody else says, well, I need 45% margin, or I can't, just to break even. It's, every business is a little different, and we've got the time, and it costs us nothing. I think we ought to throw it out there and throw that hook into the water and see if we can reel in something better.
Yeah, I think it's worth sending out. And the issue of the dumpsters, I know I keep harping on it, and I'll just boil it down to what I'm thinking is that, especially in like a small park like Washington Park, I would prefer to see the trash bagged and removed instead of sitting there in a dumpster with the bees and everything around it with the children. It's a small park for a dumpster to be sitting there with trash in it all week. I don't know if the highway guys could pick up from the barrels in the mornings during the season that the park's in use and just bring it down to their dumpster. But I also kind of feel like the volunteers, they do so much at our parks already that this shouldn't be something that a volunteer has to do either. But I just know bees have been a real issue at that Washington Park. It's small, and having a dumpster there sitting all week with a bunch of garbage in it is not going to help the problem. So if we could get that trash taken down to the highway dumpster on a daily basis, it wouldn't take that long to make a run by in the morning and take the trash out.
I would agree with you,
Yeah.
except for the fact that the issue with the bees has nothing to do with the dumpster. They're mostly, what do they call them, ground wasps?
Well, they're in the ground too, but they're also around the dump. I mean, it's just,
But the dumpster is so far removed from the playing field and everybody else. And again, what we don't want is a collection of trash there
No.
that becomes unsightly.
I
or
agree.
that we can't get, again, and we're gonna put another burden on the highway department
right.
to pick this up every day during the season. And
Well,
during the season, they've got a lot to do already. So I'd hate to put another burden on them, where, you miss a day or two, and it's gonna look ugly down
well,
there.
again, I just feel like that the volunteers at the Pines Recreation too, I think that picking up the trash and bringing it to the highway site would be a part of taking care of our parks. And it's a good health code to remove the trash daily. And I just feel like we're getting to have a larger population and more people using these parks all the time. And I think it's just better health code to remove the trash daily during the season that the parks are being used. It wouldn't take that long to just pick it up and bring it down to the highway dump site. It just wouldn't be that, it's not like it's a 4-hour task. It's 4
You're right.
miles from one park.
Nothing singularly takes that long, but when
Right.
you start to add and add and add, and all of a sudden, it becomes,
Got more fields to do.
it becomes, the highway superintendent comes in here and says, I need 2 more bodies. Listen, I'm gonna do everything you say, but I need 2 more bodies to do it, because I don't have the time in the day if you're gonna keep adding chores.
Well, it's,
And you know what, I guess I gotta get to, what's the cost? What's the cost? We're looking at a $400,000 bill, what's the cost? If we're talking $100 a month, we're talking chump change in the grand scheme of things. If we're talking $1,000 a month, hey, I'm on board. But there is no cost in here that I've seen for any of these dumpsters. So I think
$12,000.
yeah, there's a cost.
12,442
Yeah,
total,
for
but
all
that,
the dumpsters.
but
For all
that's
the
just,
dumpsters.
yeah, but that's just the dumpster. That depends on how much tonnage is getting dumped in that dumpster too. So we don't know. Those dumpsters aren't monitored. There's a problem, there could be illegal dumping. But my point is just to the fact that if we're taking care of our parks and we're cutting the grass, why are we letting the volunteers have to bag the trash? I mean, when we were smaller and there was so many people, it was easier to do, but we're getting bigger and busier. And I feel that, yeah, we might need to add another person on the highway department to take care of our parks and recreation areas better. That's all. I just think it's inevitable that you
And-
can't leave it on this.
$12,442, just a quick math, about $100 a month for each dumpster. He did say that it was minimal. I think it's an awful burden to put on the highway department, to have them have to go and pick up. They got other responsibilities. And in addition, you don't want stuff put into plastic bags with raccoons and other animals around that's gonna get ripped apart. The safest thing, the best thing to do is to put them in the dumpster. It's not costing us much.
Well, who's putting it in the dumpster?
Who's gonna go, a bag gets ripped apart by a raccoon or another animal, a fox, who's gonna go pick all that stuff up?
Well, I
You
don't know
certainly
what-
don't expect you certainly don't expect the highway guys, when they go up there to pick up these bags, they
Right.
have to run around and pick
No,
up
the
trash.
volunteers probably do, because who empties the trash cans in our parks right now? Who do you think does that? Who do you think takes the bags out and puts them in the dumpsters?
Probably the volunteers.
All our volunteers, yeah.
Well, but
Yeah, they
you're
do.
talking about eliminating the dumpster and putting all the stuff in trash bags and leaving it, that's unsightly.
No, not leaving it, no, the trash cans should be emptied daily. They really should be during the seasons, and I don't know if that's something we should put on volunteers. That's
Well-
all. I mean, I just think it's worth considering that thought, that at some point, taking care of our parks becomes the responsibility of the town.
It does, but it also becomes the responsibility of each individual member of that town, along with the
Yes,
field use people, whether it's baseball or lacrosse or football, their responsibilities. And I kind of agree, you can't keep putting new jobs and new responsibilities on an existing structure of people without
Right.
expecting to add more people to it,
Well,
because
yes.
the ask becomes too much. So I think it's something that we have to maybe consider,
yes.
but I don't think that it's a viable thing to keep pushing it off on the highway department for more things to do for them, because we end up doing that a lot, because that's our de facto of have the highway plow, how the highway cut the grass, how the highway pick up the trash, how the highway do this, how the highway do that, and it becomes inefficient for us to keep doing that to them.
Right, and I'm just saying, it's something as you consider, you know, if we're trying to go towards a public works, and we're going to start having a recreation areas that are taken care of a little more,
But
something
to
to think
that
about.
point, though, they are taken care of very well. And I know I've spent years down there at GBL in Washington Park, and I'm back for my second stint. After every night, every single barrel
They empty 'em.
is empty. We take out the trash liner, we wrap it up, we take it over to the dumpster, and we throw it in the dumpster. There is no trash left in the dugouts, in the trash cans, anywhere in Washington Park.
I know.
And
It's
it's all
amazing.
volunteers.
It is.
And we're all happy to do it because it keeps the place neat, it keeps it tidy, it keeps it, free from the pests that Selectman Watson was talking about. And I think it just works best right now. I mean, you have a lot of people down there that don't mind doing that type of work because they realize there's a benefit for everybody when they do it. You know, it's every night, after every night, the last thing done, all the
All the
trash
trash.
is removed and placed in that,
Dumpster.
dumpster,
Right,
so that the animals, to Selectman Watson's point, don't
Yep.
make a mess of it, because the last thing us volunteers want to do when we get down to the park is have to clean it before we can practice.
correct.
So if
yeah.
we take care of our business at the end of the day, there's nothing, it's all
Are-
set.
are
And down
we-
here,
Yeah,
down the Pines, I'll tell you, after every practice, after every game, and I watch them down here today, these coaches are good. They had
yeah.
every kid walk the entire field. You pick up every paper, you pick up every cup, you pick up every plastic can, and you find the receptacle and you throw it in there. And I was impressed, because it was their first one today.
Yep.
But that man, those men had these boys canvass the entire ballpark, and I'm sure, knowing Debbie Smith the way I do, she had the girls in the softball do exactly the same thing. So
Good.
if everybody does their job, and as far as I can see, they all are, and it all ends up in the proper receptacles, it's very easy for Waste Management or whoever to come by, pick them up and dump them at that point without
Right.
having anybody else burdened with it.
But if we're going to start selling the bags, don't we need to start securing those with a lock so that people can't say, well, I'm not going to buy the bags. I know there's a dumpster down at Washington Park, and I'm going to just take my overflow down there. Right? I'm just saying, if we're going to start selling the bags, we might need to secure
It's a guard
that.
against every
Yeah.
single possibility that there exists,
Well, it's
which is infinitesimal. I suppose we could do something like that.
Well, they should
I
be
just
secure, just because you
Would
don't,
guard against overkill.
no, they should
So
be
let's,
secure.
let's have a discussion, or at least think about the information that was presented to us tonight, or today, about
Trash.
the trash, the contracts, the latest proposal from Waste Management, and decide, if we're gonna move forward with a bid, if we're gonna look at coming back with a counteroffer, or what that's gonna look like, so.
Yep,
I would ask Catherine to go through the computer somehow and see if she can find the last RFP we did for this, when the other company
went belly up.
went belly up
Yep,
on us.
Yep, they did.
And then see what needs to be recreated in that document. I'll take a stab at it if nobody else wants to. It can't be too much involved. And then get it out there. We've got what, 8 weeks, I believe, before the end of this contract?
My only question is, if it's an RFP, it has to go through procurement, and we has to go through a procurement officer.
I think, let's just see if we have it first. It'll be somewhere before September 2/16.
It's one
Yeah.
bridge at a time.
Yeah, one baby step.
Then we'll make somebody procurement officer if that's what we need.
Yeah, I think,
Jason's looking good for this.
Classes?
Yeah, a lot of them.
We're exempting classes.
all right.
Are we gonna have a chance to question this guy, again?
That's what I think we should
Uh,
review this
Because
information.
looking at this, it looks to me like, unless I'm reading it incorrectly, 29% of the recyclable materials are not recyclable, and which is costing us money. Non-recyclable costs at 10% of the pickup, and then right above it, glass, and I thought glass was recyclable, unless I'm,
Where are we looking at? Which
Exhibit A.
Exhibit A, that he just sent us?
Exhibit A, last item
This one.
before total, non-recyclable costs, looks like
Oh, let me look
10%,
for that.
and glass 19%, which is both a deficit, so it must be costing us money to dispose of those.
I don't know that all glass is recyclable, is it?
Well, I'm not sure.
Glass is sand.
Glass can
But
is
if you
bottled,
have-
but not plate glass.
Right, and then there's tinted glass versus clear glass versus, it's almost like the plastic, right? Different types of plastic have different recyclable properties to it.
Oh, I see exhibit, okay, let me see.
And also, just another question for him would be, a lot of places are recycling styrofoam, and I don't see, Groveland doesn't allow that. If that's an added cost, because it doesn't weigh much, but, we could ask him.
Jason?
It's only recyclable if somebody pays for it. If there's no market for it, it's not gonna be recycled.
Yes, he said that.
But that's why it's hitting us right now, and why it's been in there, because it's currently not recyclable.
Glass,
Nobody's buying it.
Yeah,
because it's sand.
Well, then
Nobody's buying it.
Lots
then
of sand.
It doesn't matter.
at that point, it should be thrown in the trash.
All right, so let's,
Well, it all goes in the same place anyway, so,
well, it gets sorted
As
at
we ju-
home,
as we
dumped into
just-
one bin, and then resorted again.
I know,
So let's,
yeah,
let's plan on having this, at least in theory, for the next meeting.
okay.
You know, to have some kind of either waste management to come back or to have some kind of path forward, so we can determine what we want to do or what the board wants to do at that point. All right, so moving on to the other discussion, which was the fire department overrun. Kathy, this is something you wanted?
Yeah, I've looked through a few different records, things like, from like a year ago and then this year. And I guess I looked through it, he did send some pretty good information to us. He is good that way. So I did notice that on the variance report that was printed on January 8th, he was already 80% through his budget. So we should have gotten a heads up a little sooner. And then looking through the reports that he provided, I noted that starting in the January to February, the company report column is completely gone. So I'm assuming that's with the bringing on of the 2 full-timers. So the company report for October to November was $1,000, and from November to December was $2,000. And then it's kind of now disappeared, which is in line with what he did on his proposed budget, moving the money out of company report. So that's a decrease in the right direction. But like for next year, he should be okay if his incident reports are about running 10 grand a month with $122,000. But I guess I'm wondering what got us to 80%. I guess you'd have to look further back to see, because I don't, well, like for November to the end of December, that was $17,000, and then whatever training money. So maybe that's those months before the full-time people came on. We're running up at like 20 grand a month or something like that. Maybe that explains, because right now, what he's running at now will fit into next year's firefighter call budget, $10,000 a month, 12 months. Yeah. So that'll fit. And then he seems to have eliminated the company report, which the finance board had asked about that, and he took it out of the budget. He's now must be using his full-time people for that.
Which was part of the purpose to have the full-time.
Right, so I guess the question remains is, I haven't seen the latest variance report, but the last one, they were $6,000 in the hole, and that was, I'm just wondering how much money we're gonna be looking for. So I'm looking, just let me find my folder on the variance. We got one, I think that was just through March, maybe, which leaves April, May, June. If it's $10,000 a month plus training budget, you're talking, 40,000.
45,000, yeah.
Yeah, 40 to 50,000, if, depending on what else he can do. I mean, you can't not go to the calls. So I guess that's what we have to start thinking about. Ask Ellen, what's able to be done, or where we can do line item transfers as of May 1st. The Board of Selectmen in collaboration with the Finance Board. We can take reserve fund money that's left, the 10,000 that's left there, and then, see what else is available that we could actually move around to put money there, because, you shouldn't continue to deficit spend. We
So
gotta,
we really can't make any kind of adjustments until next week.
correct, we'd have to hear from Ellen where she thinks there might be,
Excess reserves.
yeah.
I think the fire chief explained it pretty well at I think it was the last meeting he was here.
Yep,
He said that he had enough money in the budget, the total budget wasn't going over. He had enough money in there to move things around. We could vote, at some point, would have to vote to transfer items to, I think it was just salaries that were high. And he explained, he had the money in the budget, he just had to move it from one item to another.
I don't see that in this variance report. I don't know if he's thinking in terms of $45,000. Because they run pretty tight when the call wages go over. They don't, fire department doesn't have a lot of big line items. And he's got 3,000 left in one and 2,000 in another. It's not a ton of money left.
So it might be tight.
I don't think he has the whole 45 in his budget, so
And he's not at the end of the year yet.
I think we'll have to look.
Yeah, you still have 2 more months.
Yeah.
Correct, so I think, we could do a reserve fund transfer at our next meeting with the finance board and move 10,000 in there right away to get rid of the deficit.
Well, how about bring the fire chief in for the next meeting and have him explain where
I
he,
think we
where he
should
can move
do-
the items to.
The fire chief, the finance
I like
board as
that.
well.
Okay,
And then that way, if we need to do that reserve fund transfer, we can have everybody here that.
do it at the same time, yep.
in
Get rid of the
in
deficit.
In the event of expediency. All right, so we're all set with that
Yep,
for now?
good.
All right, so anybody have any old business? Jason, any old business? Ed, any old business?
No,
Bill, any old business?
Old, no.
Kathy?
I
Old
don't
business?
think so. Oh, yes, there was that one person who had asked us about the dedication of the snack shack at Washington Park.
I think Bill's taking that.
Are we
and-
going
and-
forward with this? Okay, never mind.
Yeah, that's a
I'm
little
not-
bit more complicated than on
It's
on the
much
surface
more
it looks like.
complicated
Okay,
than.
okay.
than-
Future agenda?
I don't
Maybe.
even know
Maybe,
if
okay.
that's possible, and
Okay,
I can talk to you and
All
let
right,
you know what I
thank you.
found, but this is very difficult.
okay.
Kathy, do you want to make that
Oh, yes.
statement on
I
finance
can
director
do that.
time?
Yes, so let me get that up. Okay. And, what are we doing it? Okay, so, do you want me just to make it?
Just read it. yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to make a statement regarding an executive session that the Board of Selectmen conducted today, April 26th, at approximately 5:12 PM. In an executive session this evening, the Board of Selectmen reached an agreement with interim finance director Kevin Pecos that effective immediately and through to May 31st, 2021, Kevin Pecos will serve as a paid consultant to the town of Groveland.
Thank you. And moving on to, Kathy, do you have anything to add since we're under that the finance or administrative, anything that we didn't cover? You all set? Okay. Moving on to selectmen time, I'm gonna go first. Today, I think, is my last meeting. So I want to thank the town for the privilege of 6 years of serving on this board. It's been a hard year, hard-fought year. Last year was very difficult. Moving into this year was very difficult, very time-consuming. A lot of things happen, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving personnel. This board has really stepped up to take a leadership role of that, and being chair of the board has also taken a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of commitment. But I think tonight will be my last meeting, so I want to thank everybody for their efforts and their workability together. And with that, I'll move over to Jason.
Yes, I would like to thank you for your 6 years of service, and I'm not gonna let you off the hook quite so easily,
But,
because I'm gonna need you to introduce me to Senator Tar
sure,
during one of your meetings.
sure. Actually, I was just texting with him right now about the copper wires.
Good deal.
I'll introduce you to him. Kathy?
Perfect.
Well, I mean, I have to say, I think that you did an incredible job, in particular this past year. Who would have thought, as of last March, that we would go through a whole year of this?
Yeah.
And changes in personnel and changes in regulations and so many different things hitting us all the time. And you stay pretty calm. You tell me to stay calm, and that's helpful. I think that you did an amazing job, in particular this year, because I think this year is just one of those years where we've all gone through a very, very, very difficult thing, and I think it changes people, and we all change from it, and in your case, we saw an incredible step up from you and taking us through the tail end of this pandemic. And I know it wasn't easy, but you did it, and I thank you for that. Because I couldn't have done it any better. You did it great. Thank you.
Sure. Anything else under selectmen time?
Catherine?
No. I got my last shot,
Everybody get vaccinated.
and it
Anything else
hurt.
under selectmen time?
Ouch.
Bill?
Hurt my arm.
Yes, like to report that we had our meeting again with the high school building committee last Tuesday. Like to report that everything is still on time and on schedule and on budget. As a matter of fact, we've done so well that we've actually been able to add back some of the value engineering things that we took out of at the beginning of the project because we didn't think we could afford them. We've been able to add them back. The project has gone so successfully. So that's great news for everybody in the community. I would also like to thank Chairman Wood for his 6 years of selfless dedication to the citizens of this town. In the time I've known him, he's always, in every single situation, put the best interest of the citizens in the community before his. That's something that you don't often find today in politics. It's a very rare trait. And for that, I have to admire him and thank him because he always puts himself last, and that's really a sign of a great leader. His insight and his experience, his knowledge will certainly be missed on this board. I don't know if it can be replaced. I wish I could have talked him into running again. But after the 75th, 100th time, I think he said no to me, I kind of gave up, so I have other plans. But it has been an honor and a privilege to serve with you, alongside of you, during these 5 years that I've been on the board to make Groveland a better place. And if words could say thank you enough, I'd use those words, but I don't think words alone can really express the gratitude that I have for you, for the service you've done. And thank you is not enough, but that's all I have at this point.
Thank you. No, that's more than I need or expected, and I appreciate it. Ed, anything under selectmen time?
No, but I know this, was your last meeting. You didn't take out papers to re-up. But are you entertaining a write-in?
Well, I don't know if this is the forum that we can actually talk about that, but.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. Yeah, I would do that. That's up to the citizens of the town. If they deem me sufficient enough to warrant a write-in, then that's up to them. Any other comments on the selectmen time? No? Can we get a motion to adjourn at 8:00? One
No.
second.
Other items not reasonably anticipated
Oh.
at the time of, because I do have two, and they're gonna be very quick ones.
Yeah, go ahead.
The high school has approached to me, as I guess is the point person. They would like to put a bullpen down at the Pines in the baseball field at their own cost. So what they're proposing is a mound along the left field side, which is the fence that goes down toward the boating ramp. They would have the mound closest to the road and the plate closest to the river. They'd like to do this because right now they don't have a place to warm up a pitcher in between innings. Again, this would be done at their own cost, free of charge to us. I think it would enhance the experience not only for the high school's kids, but for the Babe Ruth kids as well. So I'd like, I guess, an okay from the board that we allow them to do that, to enhance that enhance that property. I think it's,
How about the visiting team on the right side of the field? They probably should get the same thing.
they probably should, yep, but I'm for the home team myself. And I'll be honest with you, when I get to their locations, they have a bullpen, we don't have one. They have batting cages, we don't get to use them. It seems like hometown gets the advantages, I guess that's what they call home court advantage, right?
Yep.
It'd be nice to have one on the other side, but until I see the other communities, and I visited them all, do the same, I don't think we should accommodate the visiting teams until they start accommodating us.
So a bullpen is like a special fenced-in area where they can practice?
There's only going to be, from what I understand, they're gonna have like a movable fence, just to make sure nobody gets hit by a foul ball, a stray ball.
Okay.
But they're gonna move it pretty far down toward the river, so it's kind of out of the way and along the fence. And this is a way, so, again, they have a place to warm up a pitcher. Right now,
Oh,
there's
okay.
no place, there's no real facility, there's
That's
no
it.
real location, there's no mound that they can use to warm up a pitcher in between innings, or if their pitcher's getting roughed up, to quickly send somebody out there, get loosened up, and
Okay.
get on the mound.
Okay. Do we need to vote on this?
I'm just, you
It's
know.
kind of a movable fence, right? So it's not really fixed there anyway.
No, it's gonna, this, they tear it down after every game. They're only gonna put it up for the game, just in case they need it, and so there's, adequate protection to those kids
Yeah.
from foul balls. The minute the game is over, that screen just folds up
They
and they
fold it
put it
up.
back in, and they go off with it.
Okay.
I don't know how close to the river you're referring to, but would that interfere with the people with the boats and the trailers? Because I know Rennie just recently put wrap down all the way up to that fence, so when people are parking, not sinking in the mud.
The bullpen is inside the field.
Oh,
Oh, all right. Yeah,
They wanted to put it,
How you know?
That's a no-brainer.
they wanted to put it outside the field. I've talked to them in lengthy discussions, and I said, you can't, because in a week or so, they're gonna put Haverhill may put that temporary fence
Yeah.
up there to house their boats, so that's not doable. So it's gonna be on the inside, up against the fence, but on the inside of the field.
oh.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
So do you need us to vote this?
I'd like to get,
So,
so that at the end of the day, they know that we blessed it.
okay, so I make a motion to approve the request of the Pentucket High School baseball team to put a removable bullpen inside the outfield? Is that-
No, to construct a bullpen
Yes.
at the Pines facility on the third base left field line.
Okay, what he just said is my motion.
I'll second that.
I'll never get it right.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Sounds good to me.
And one more quick one.
Oh, my God.
Due to COVID, the girls softball has approached me. The placement, the current placement of the bleachers is problematic. Because of COVID, if you go down to the softball field, they now have these pink ribbons tied to the fence every 3 feet. And that's where the players are going to have to stay when they're not on the field. The problem is the bleachers right now where they're currently located are problematic to that social distancing. So they've asked permission to move the bleachers at the softball field down the lines to the telephone poles at the corners, just so they can keep their girls, the players, socially distanced along the fence without having to cross paths with spectators when that bleacher's right there in front of them. And again, they'll do it at their own cost. They're not asking the town to do anything, just,
So they just
less-
want to move their bleachers.
they just want to slide the bleachers down so it's COVID.
I don't think they really need to ask us about that, do they?
You know what? They
It's
just,
fine.
they just want to make sure that they're not doing things that we
Oh,
don't know
You moved
about.
those bleachers, you weren't supposed to move those
Right,
bleachers.
'cause you
There's
know what
nothing but
happens in
bleachers
this
to move,
town.
yeah.
Somebody on this board will be the first one to say, hey, they moved the bleachers, how did they get it there? So, You know what, in the sake of transparency, they just want to throw this all out, and they just want our blessing to know that we're okay with it.
Okay, so we'll make a motion that it's okay for the girls softball team to move the bleachers.
Good, second.
All in favor?
Awesome. That's all I have. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. I appreciate your support.
We get a- No problem, Bill. Can we get a motion to adjourn at 8:10 now?
Second, motion to adjourn at 8:10.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
So I just need the beginning language for the minutes on the, I think I kind of have it on an old executive session, the strategy, blah, 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 blah. Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
signatures.
So I'll just. put-
Sorry about the last of it.
Oh, okay, there it is. Yep, that's the one I need.
Today with this stuff.
No, that's fine.
So I'll
And then I
type
said,
that
well,
up
we
and
can't
I'll
pay
send
for it.
them
And I
to
said,
you.
no, no, we'll pay for it all. And
No,
I
it's
said,
all
oh, hey, can you put lights too?